Going live now. Hello everybody, it's the Rural Alliance UK podcast. We're just in our preamble here while we prepare for the show in just a few minutes time. Hope you're well, thank you for joining us. Hope you had a good weekend. I did. How about you, Ant?
I had a great weekend. Went 8-2 on my betting in the college football championships, which was really good. Beat everybody else. And then the Lions kicked the crap out of the Jaguars yesterday. And I'm nearly fully healthy again after being ill these last few weeks. So wins all around.
Wins all around. The England game in the background was so hard to focus on, or not try and focus on too much, and then we blew them away, which was great.
I've not watched a minute of us this year. I can't be honest.
I think
I've fallen out of love with football. I'm not really that interested about it at the minute.
To be honest, I've fallen out of love with football probably in equal measure to the amount I've fallen in love with NFL generally, or American football generally. They seem to have come and gone in equal measure.
I always say the thing with the NFL, I can just put myself into it for like a 4-month period where I can just really put everything into it. And then I can have a nice break. With soccer, it's just all the damn time. And the financial bridge between where teams like mine are and teams like yours are just ludicrous. So
Ludicrous.
The system's stacked against a team like mine ever doing anything in my lifetime. So NFL is not. Might see some playoffs this year. You know you want to.
And you're the one who were telling me to shut the fuck up about that, basically, only a week ago. What's happening? What's happening right now?
I said, let's see what we do against the Jags first. I said, let's see how we rebound from a loss that we probably shouldn't have had. And it's a lot different to last time. After the Vikings loss, we got completely blown out. After the Bills loss, we blew someone out. So now I think we can be optimistic about it, but that was the big game.
Hello to everyone in the chat, and thanks for joining us. Hope you had a good Sunday. If you've got any thoughts on the game, get them in. If you have any questions for us, get them in. Could definitely get used to this. What a lovely day it's been. I haven't really felt like I've woken up all day. And partly I thought it was because I slept badly. But maybe it was because I just never stopped dreaming after last night. It does feel like a dream. Like the first team in 4 years to score in every possession.
Yeah.
And
there was just so much. There was so much good shit yesterday.
I know this Jags team is now 4-8, but they ain't no scrubs.
They're a good team.
They're a good team.
They're a very good team. We've just come off of a very good win. You know, they're rebuilding like us, and they have their franchise quarterback, and they had a ton of money to spend in free agency last year. So let's not pretend this is a bad win. This is a really good win. You know, this team beat the Ravens, so they're not that bad. It's just we kicked their ass.
The Ravens
really simple.
Just beat the Broncos 10-9.
Oh god.
That was one of the worst games I've ever seen.
And then we have to watch the Broncos in the late slate again this week, while our big clash in the NFC North is at 6:00, and it's just like, come on, man. Really? I know it's late notice, but just change the damn thing. No one will complain. No one will care. The Broncos fans will probably be happier that their game be hidden in the 6 p.m. slate so that no one can see the disaster that's unfolding there. No one will care.
I accidentally started a second stream by mistake, so I'm just going to have to try and tell people in here to move over, but I can't see the comments. Give me a second to sort myself out.
I thought it was odd. I seem to be on the right one.
Yeah, you were. Before we went live, I went live on a different one about 90 seconds before and then realised my mistake, so I changed it.
You noob.
Well, yeah, if I was good at this, it'd be my job. as it is, we're here. So
Muting the words Anthony Richardson and Lions. Mute.
yeah.
There we go. Don't want to see none of that shit on my timeline today.
Yeah. Big Airy said, "Oh Lord, it sounds like Mayfield's being cut." A bit of huge news to a few Lions reporting outlets. We do not speak of them.
No, we are a normal Lions reporting outlet. A small one, but rational.
I'm sure that some people have probably tried to take the mantle of a rational Lions fan before, and I know that sometimes we had the odd bit of irrationality, but
For the most part, we're quite rational. And when we're not afraid to admit that we were a bit irrational.
yeah,
Like,
and some of us also publicly go onto Twitter with no one calling you out whatsoever, and admit you were wrong about something, Ant, which I noticed this afternoon.
I'm always the same. I have a lot of opinions, and sometimes some of them are wrong, and I will admit when my opinions are wrong. I mean, if I've been stubborn, I'd say they were right at the time, but I didn't see the transformation from the particular person in question that they were going to get better. But they were crap for a long time. But they're much better now, and I will admit that. Double A is looking. I was going to say double D, but then that just sounds. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. So
Giggity.
double A looking as good as a pair of double Ds. I don't know. One of those things.
Oh dear Lord, no, Ant, you went there.
I did. I don't know. Whatever. Anzalone's playing well, and he gets his due. So
Ant went from double A's and double D's to being a total G. There we go. Hey.
okay. I am not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, and I know I will get called on it. So, yeah, not a know-it-all. Unlike some people out there. Did you see that rant from Detroit Lions forum on Jared Goff that got posted up in Luke G's chat?
No, I don't know who they
Guy
are.
on there. It was 25 minutes of basically ragging on Woodward and 97.1 and saying Jared Goff's the best thing since sliced bread and he's a franchise quarterback, yada, 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 yada.
Look,
and taking shots at everyone who's disagreed otherwise, including the LNU panel, which obviously includes me. So,
okay, this is probably good content that could be saved for recording, but I'll say it now, and if I say it again, then I'll say it again. These two things can coexist. Jared Goff is not the franchise answer at quarterback long term, and Jared Goff is good enough to stick around for a good long while. Like, he played really well, and we have seen games over the last 2 years where he has played really well. Now, his ceiling of really high is not as high as other quarterbacks. Like, the game he played yesterday isn't as good as Mahomes' best game ever. It's just not. But it's at a level where if he can play like that consistently, he can be a guy for a few years. He can see out the rest of his contract while you really sort yourselves out and just figure it out later, and you're fine with that. But
he's a confidence QB who's full of confidence at the minute.
100%.
Who's going to be good.
The thing
That's
is,
100%.
if he came to the Lions right now and said, I've got enough money, I don't really care about money, I want to be in a place I belong and I'm willing to sacrifice some money to do it as long as I'm guaranteed starter. If you give me a 4-year, $60 million fully guaranteed deal, $15 million a year, like, I might go for that. Like, he's still not my long-term guy, but 4 years of this sort of level of production, the Lions might end up a top 5 offense in the NFL this year. And while I don't think he's a really big reason why that's happening, he's a part of why it's happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to become a very big conversation, isn't it, over the next...
Huge.
If we keep winning, I mean, if we beat the Vikings this weekend, and he does well again and don't turn them all over, then you get into a conversation where it's like, hang on, what do we do? Because there's a point almost of no return now where he's getting to the point where you're definitely going to get a year 3, because if he gets us 8 wins, you kind of got to give him a year 3. I feel like it would be unfair to pull the rug from under him and cut him. and then get a rookie in.
Yeah.
I think it sends a bad message to the locker room.
Well, and the value.
But you've also got to be mindful of your long-term future.
Yeah.
And I feel like we are going to hit a balance soon where whatever we do, whether we keep him or we get someone else, it's going to be the wrong thing to do. It's just sometimes you get in those situations. There's no right answer.
Yeah, that's fair. Right, maybe we should get some of this on record. What do you think?
I assumed you started.
No.
We're just chatting. How you doing, Ryan? You right?
Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah, can't
like
complain.
The
Things are steady, aren't they? Like I say, we're in a period of almost ease and calm.
I've not seen a shit easy grin like that for some time, Ryan.
I'm content. And I've not been able to say that for a long time.
I've never seen that. Not since we've started doing this. I've never seen you pull that face.
I've actually been shit for most of it.
But you know, when sort of like 5 weeks ago we were getting panned for being critical and stuff like that, and I'm just like, I don't want to be this way. It's like, I want to be this way. I want to be dressed up, celebrating wins, having fun. This is what I like. But 5 weeks ago it was a very different story. It's, you know, these things ebb and flow. 5 weeks ago, they were worthy of a lot of criticism. Now, they're worthy of a lot of praise. A hell of a lot. Specific players as well. But this is the stream I like. And I would do this every single week if I could.
Hell yeah. Amen. Amen to that. Right. Shall we get this show on the road? I will take that as a yes.
Did the Lions win yesterday?
Hell yes. Right, let's do this.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 163, My Favourite Game. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside co-host Ryan McCluskey and Anthony Fitzpatrick. How you doing, boys?
Oh, you could have consulted me about that before we started. I thought you got something legit today.
What did you want? What have you come up with?
Well, you didn't say you needed out, so I didn't bother.
Big cat rescue? I don't know.
I don't know. Walking like an Egyptian god?
Jared Exotic?
Yeah. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
No. See, it would have just been, because he got the game ball in the locker room, it would have just been DJ Chuck do.
Oh.
No. No. It would have been the Sharknado or something like that. You go with the cool one.
We go with the cool one. Not a mantra I agree with, clearly, given the name of the show. This is the Jags at Lions review show for Roar of the Lions UK. We're going to go through our preamble, go through some news, then talk about the game in some depth. My thanks to everyone who's joining us in the live chat or listening on the record later on. Hope you're well and you had a good weekend. So let me get through some preamble to start with. Discord channel, it's lively in there right now and you should be a part of it. Links are going to go in the live chats of both Twitch and YouTube right now. Come and join us. It's a great place to be for a Lions community. College football podcast, boys. You're going to be talking this week about what?
It was the championship slate of games this previous weekend. All the conferences played out their championships. The college football playoffs are now decided, so we know what they're going to be. And the transfer portal is open, and nearly every quarterback in college football, if they ain't declaring for the draft, has gone in it. So we're going to try and break that down a little bit. And also Deion Sanders is a Judas. So, yeah, there's going to be all that sort of stuff going on. We're going to rag on him a lot. So, yeah, come join us.
You want to go and listen to that if you want to know your Anthony Richardson from your Phil Jerkovich. That's all I'll say. Please don't forget to like the show and sub to the podcast on all the available places. Comment down below, all that good stuff. You know it helps us out. And don't forget to download the app as well at Lions Nation Unite. It's Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators all together. You'll find us there, Lions on the Prowl, Dose of Dion, Micro Mike, all the good guys from there. So download at lionsnationunite.com. And we are a Twitch affiliate. If you are so minded, you can pop over to Twitch. And if you have Amazon Prime, you have a free Twitch Prime subscription. If you could give that to us, if you're not giving it to anyone else, it will take money straight out of Amazon's pocket and give it to us. Won't cost you a penny, but will be greatly appreciated over here. Let's get straight into the news. And to start with, we had the news since we were last with you that Jameson Williams and Romeo Okwara were both activated from injured reserve. Now, we later found out that Okwara wasn't quite ready to go this weekend and just needed to be activated to avoid being shut down entirely. Boys, Jameson was obviously on a snap count, didn't see much on the field, and Okwara didn't see anything at all. But positive moves from both. You know, Okwara must be close enough that it's worth activating and not shutting him down for the year at least.
Yeah, we need to see Romeo this year. So it's good that he's there. I mean, you know, he's not there just yet, but we've got 5 games left, potentially more. Who knows? But hopefully he gets a good audition for the end of the year, because that edge room is getting very interesting at this moment in time. Certain guys staking claims for rotational spots, etc., and all of a sudden all that money he's on could become expendable. So he needs to put in a good showing for the end of the year. As for Jameson, obviously we all were very, very happy about that. And, you know, we saw a little bit, you know, that's all it needed to be. Just a few reps, just get himself acclimatized a little bit. I think there was just one target, I feel like there was. But he'd go get there eventually. But it was just good to have him on the field. I feel like his presence there, it just having him on the field gives your offense something more. I mean, you saw how freely Goff was slinging it around and whatnot. When you've got an actual genuine bona fide deep threat on the field, it opens up space in the defense, and he picked it apart when he was there. So it was all good.
Yeah, I don't expect much from Romeo between now and the end of the season, but if we'd have not seen him, I would have genuinely doubted if he'd been back next season, or if it could have been a cap casualty. I feel like giving them extension, ACL, if he'd have missed the entire season when never been activated, it'd have been a big red flag against him. On the flip side, it's very damning for Julian. If we don't see Julian again, because he actually had to make way for his brother, which seems a little bit cruel how it's gone. If we don't see him again this year, I don't know. Like he's very on the bubble next year too. So as Ant says, and you got Bryant, he's useless. Charles Harris having a down year. Like, just the edge room is a bit of chaos right now. Like I said, there's a lot of guys out there that just aren't fit, and guys that are just trying to secure their future. So it's a proper battle royale. And then Jameson, I didn't expect anything from him whatsoever. Like I say, he got the one target. I think he got six routes, 2 blocks, and yeah, looked fine. Just good to see him. I didn't even expect that much from him. I don't think we'll see much from him next week either. I think it's going to be probably like the Panthers game where he really gets involved. I reckon they'll slowly edge it up. So 3 weeks, and I reckon we should be up to full speed. If not by then I'll question if he is 100% or not.
Yeah, you rightly mentioned that Julian did go on IR, and with needing to miss 4 games from that rules him out until week 17. So there'd still be 2 games left where he'd be eligible to return, assuming no postseason. He's still obviously got 1 year left on his rookie deal, and as a 3rd round pick, I can't imagine that's going to be much more than like $1.5 million. So
1.2.
Sorry?
1.2.
Yeah, so he's just not in trouble, Julian, unless there's too many people on the edge that you can't get rid of. But 1.2 million for him is just not expensive for me.
But it's a roster spot that could be spent elsewhere on someone who can stay healthy.
Maybe.
I mean, we've had this discussion many a time, but he's injured again. Starts playing well, injured again. Out for 4 weeks. How long are we going to persist with it? Deshaun Hand only got 3 seasons, and he was done. He just could not stay healthy. Julian is now at that point. You're going to get exactly the same next year. A few flashes here and there, more injuries. You're wasting your time at this point. Brad Holmes has got to be brutal with his cuts this year. Don't matter. You save $1 million from cutting Julian. It ain't much, but that's still a roster space spot. It still gets you a vet min, something like that. So doesn't mean you can't bring someone else in at the same price. But you just can't afford to have these people injured all the time. Look how well this team's playing now that it's healthy. But there has to be a tip-off point, and I think this one is it.
Last bit of news today is that the Lions have signed a quarterback. Is there a controversy in Detroit? No, there's not. But his name is Joshua Dobbs. He's gone to the practice squad. Obviously, we had ours nicked by the Chicago Bears in recent weeks. He's a 2017 fourth-round pick by Pittsburgh. He's gone to and from a few different places. He was with the Browns until He Who Shall Not Be Named was activated last week. For those of you who don't know him, I'm not surprised. He's never started an NFL game, so there's no reason why you should know who he is, really. But he's a dual-threat quarterback. He played for the Tennessee Volunteers, and in his final season, his senior year, 2016, he went for 2,946 yards and 27 touchdowns through the air, and 831 yards and 12 touchdowns on the ground in his senior year. So Pride of Detroit are speculating that at very least it's going to help us out when we're facing mobile quarterbacks later in the year, Justin Fields being the example they pick out for week 17. What do you make of this one, boys? Did you see much of him in his college career? I don't know whether, Ant, you were really following college at that sort of time, but maybe, Ryan, you were?
Oh, bang average. He's a journeyman. He won't even last the season. We'll axe him. At the moment that someone becomes available, it'll be gone. He's going to be Josh McCown. He's just trying to get on every roster he can. So, yeah, there's better guys out there. I'd have absolutely worked out Nathan Rourke before I would have this guy. He's been around the block too many times and not stuck out. But I saw names of Badley, like, oh Christ, it'd have been even worse. He was on a 1-9 USFL Pittsburgh Maulers team and he was shit. So I don't think we even need a quarterback 3, but I'm guessing it's just for protection and, like I said, the practice squad. Nate Sudfeld, I've barely seen him this year. I don't even know if it looks. I don't even know if I know what it looks like.
We're at that time of year now, aren't they? This is where the CFL guys and the XFL guys and everyone get sort of a couple of weeks on a roster because teams can't be asked to pay someone to come and sit there and, a bit of money. So it means nothing. We won't see him, and I'm with Rye. Bang average. Yeah, you're going to get nothing here. It's just a QB3 on a practice squad. It ain't a big deal.
Well, I'd rather have him than Baker.
Oh, God, yeah. I just don't
like him. He's so arrogant. And I hope this humbles him. I hope he learns a lesson that takes the chip off his shoulder a little bit. I know he might have been mishandled a little bit last year, but he was the one that kept wanting to play through injury. He's the one that was like, nope, don't shut me down. I don't want surgery. Let me hang out there. And then when his shoulder like a bit of fucking stood on Lego, it was his own fault. And Baker Mayfield is on a slippery slope to the USFL or the fan-controlled football league. Johnny Manziel 2.0, and he will not be around much longer. If you fail on the Panthers, you're screwed.
And you've got to pay him $250,000 per game until the end of the season. It's just like, no, thank you. We will pay a journeyman guy on the practice squad a tiny proportion of that and get the same use out of you. I'd pay him $1.3 million for him till the end of the season. Not a chance.
No, I mean, even if you only had to pay him veteran minimum prorated and you had to pay him, what's that, $400,000 now, $350,000 for 5 games, I still think you're being fleeced. His QBR this year means that in qualifying players since the stat began, he's like 565th out of 596 players in total QBR in QBR's history as a metric. Like, no matter what you think of Baker, and like I'm a little bit of a Baker believer because I saw what he did in the year with the Browns before he got injured, where he was legitimately a top 10 quarterback and he looked very good doing it. Then he got injured and he just hasn't been the same guy since. Well, he's not the same guy since still applies, and until he finds himself, he's not that guy anymore. Like, he's got it in him. If somewhere can actually build him back up to being a quarterback, he could do something. But his reclamation project is going to have to go the way of Geno Smith, where he's going to have to sit behind someone for a while, learn a bit about himself, grow up a bit, and then maybe in 3 years' time he gets another shot somewhere like Geno's had.
He's half a tier above Jamarcus Russell bust territory. He's very damn close for a first overall pick. If he hadn't have had that half decent season with Browns getting them to the playoffs, then he'd be right down there. That's just how bad he's been. And indicators that getting a QB number 1 overall in the draft is not a guarantee of success. You've got to get the right guy. So
his only hope is landing with Houston.
I mean,
That's the only place he can land where he's going to see the field.
Or the Rams, maybe. But I know the Rams like to give their home field guy. I know they like Walford a lot, don't they? So he might not even get in front of Walford at this point. But that QB class is looking horrific right now.
It's not been...
It's looking terrible.
Right, let's crack on with the game review, shall we? Because it's quite fun. Jags 14, Lions 40. The Lions score in every single offensive possession except the kneel downs at the end. They're the first team in 4 years to score in every single offensive possession. Elevations for this game: only the centre Ross Pierschbacher, inactives wide receiver Tom Kennedy, guard Logan Stenberg, centre Evan Brown, defensive lineman Michael Brockers, and Romeo Okwara, and cornerback Amani Oruwariye. In terms of this game, they obviously dominated from start to finish, got up 14-3 early, carried that on into halftime 23-6. They only lost the third quarter 7-8, and then they won 10-0 in the final quarter to win 40-14. Goff 31 of 41 for 340 and 2 touchdowns, and just was a proper field general out there. It's the first time I've seen him do that here, really. On the other side, Lawrence, slightly injured at halftime, went 17 of 31 for 179 and a touchdown. On the ground, Swift led the way for the Lions in terms of carries and yards, 14 for 62 and a touchdown. Williams slightly restricted by that, then 11 for 35 and a touchdown. Etienne slightly overshadowed, his 13 for 54. Didn't really move the needle for them. The Lions ran for 100 total yards. Then in the receiving game, Amon-Ra ruled the roost with 11 for 114 and 2 touchdowns, but it was a real breakout game for Chark as well, 5 of 6 for 98. On the Jacksonville side, Christian Kirk the only one to write home about with 6 for 104. Evan Ingram had an interesting day, but he went 5 of 7 for 30 and a touchdown. On the defensive side of the ball, Anzalone recovered a fumble, obviously forced by Deshaun Elliott. Otherwise, the Lions were led in tackles by Kirby Joseph, 8 total, 7 of which solo. Anzalone also got a sack as... Oh, no, he didn't, beg your pardon, got TFL, as did Barnes and Houston. Houston also racked up a sack. That's his third in 2 games. And Benito Jones and Hutchinson shared half each. On the Jacksonville side, Olakun had 15 total tackles in this game, 11 of which solo. There was 1.5 sacks for Chad Muma and half for Devon Hamilton, as well as an extra TFL by Trayvon Walker. Boys, just at a high level, I've never seen this before from a Lions team. I just don't think I called it my favourite game because it truly might be the favourite game I've ever seen as a Lions fan. As a kind of snap reaction, what do you feel about the game? I know, Ant, obviously you watched it after everyone else, but you didn't have it spoiled, I know. So what were you feeling all the way through?
Felt like I saw a team who played in unison together. All 3 units, the offense, the defense, special teams, well, at least half of special teams anyhow. But I mean, you know, it's confidence. I see a team full of confidence. You know, we have a quarterback who is confidence-based. He is playing some of his best football in a long time at this moment in time. And it's feeding through to everyone. When your leader on the field is playing well, when your youngsters are winning games, when they're competing, when they know that they can do more than just play tough, you know, they play full of confidence and they play up to another level. And the entire team did. I mean, early doors, you get the fumble from, you know, on Etienne, you know, Elliott forces it out, Anzalone gets it back, and then you go and score. We put scoreboard pressure on them early. We took their run game away from them. We put Trevor under pressure, you know, and every time the offense kept scoring points, and that makes it easier for the defense. When you keep the scoreboard ticking, when you keep things moving nicely, then the defense has a lot more freedom to go out and make its plays and to do what it does best. And your special teams, Badgley was money. Every time they got to a situation where they were stopped, he just threw. He scored 15 points on it. He scored more points than the Jaguars did. You know, it was Badgley 15, Jaguars 14, and you know that's what I mean. It's just all about keeping the scoreboard moving, all about keeping the pressure up, and that's what we did. We basically we punched them, got them on the ground, but stuck our foot down on them, and we didn't let it off. We just utterly and thoroughly annihilated them, and at no stage ever did they look like they were up for the fight. They were just, and this was a team who gritted out a result against the Ravens the week before. This is not like we were beating up on a poor team. This is a good team, and we just got in control early, and we just exerted every form of pressure on them, and they just had no answer whatsoever. That was my high level take. We dominated, and it was never at any point close, and I loved it. I loved the response to the loss the other week. I said that this was the big game for me. You know, when we lost narrowly to the Vikings, our heads dropped and we had some bad defeats. And it's like, is that going to happen again now? We've done it to the Bills. Nope. No hangover at all. If anything, it inspired them to go out there and right the wrongs of that day and lay a whooping on somebody. And delightful all the way round.
I was so disappointed by Jacksonville. To be honest, I actually thought they were going to give us a really good game and they were going to really make us work for it. Nope, rolled over and they had their bellies tickled by halftime. We were calm, we were relaxed. The play clock seemed like it took forever because they were getting no pressure. Sewell, phenomenal offensive line, pass pro, pocket as clean as I've seen all year. Goff never had anyone in his face. There were no batted balls, nothing like that. It was just textbook. It was clinical. Get the check down to Swift and gradually grew into the game. Got to make some people miss. He finally looks the healthiest he's looked for weeks. The run defense, Etienne didn't look 100% when he started, and then I think his confidence crumbled. Like say within 1.5 minutes, he's fumbled. And then after that, he just looked like a shell of himself, like a naughty schoolboy that had been told off, because I imagine Pedersen probably got after him. And yeah, with every field goal, when we're about 20, 30 points up, their playbook and their plan just goes further and further out the window. And Christian Kirk was their only outlet. And he had a good day. He's a good receiver. He's actually doing a pretty good job at repaying what he's owed him. That was it. Evan Ingram, Jeff Okudah put him in a body bag. He's the only person big enough and fast enough to stick with him. And he did it all day. Evan didn't do nothing against him, like I say. And then Jerry, he took out MJJ, manned up with him, big PBU, and then pressure. Like I say, Hutch, triple teamed all day, holding him, grabbing at his legs, his ankles. The most frustrating game he's probably ever had because they did everything in their power to stop him, and most of it was illegal. But then that freed up, like say, Kaminsky, just turning out to be a monster. Houston had just a fancy sack. Everything, like say, it just worked perfectly. Amon-Ra did what he did best, and Chark finally took some pressure off that short to intermediate routes. Finally got a little bit deeper, worked against a secondary that I'd say is subpar at most, but he got in behind it, he got space, and he came down with some really hard receptions. And then clock management, I'd say Dan Campbell probably had one of his best weeks at using clock with Ben, the challenge, which was really good. That got some momentum back. Yeah, just a great deal overall. And then Badgley, yeah. Until Badgley is not the kicker, he is the kicker. And that's the only way you can look at it. Until he starts missing, like I say, he's not right now, so you can have no complaints about it. And he's the person that's going to be here long term.
Lions went 8 for 12 on third down versus Jacksonville's 3 for 12. Lions got 31 total first downs, including 2 from penalty. They had 36 minutes 50 of possession, which means they possessed the ball for 13 minutes 40 longer than Jacksonville. That's almost an entire quarter of a game that we had extra against them. It's absolutely off the chart how well they played. Let's just go through this sequentially as we always do. And, I mean, we'll start off with this very second play of the game. So, second play for Jacksonville. And let's be fair, just before the fumble comes out, I'm watching this play going, oh no, it's happening again. Because Etienne goes left off tackle, and there's no one near him. Like, he's in acres of space. He makes 10 yards untouched before he meets Deshaun Elliott, and I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be one of those days, is it? And then Elliott kind of doesn't really go in trying to make some sort of conventional tackle, and before you know it, the ball's out, and Anzalone, who's the 5th guy into the pile, comes out with the ball. Okuda had the first shot. I don't know what happened, but somehow he comes out with the ball, and we recover it around the Jacksonville 35. I mean, what a start, lads.
Deshaun Elliott usually lays the hammer, but it's like he waited for him to come at him, and then he did his best to stand him up and rip it. He basically held him off the ground, pulled it out, and then I saw at least 10 bodies have a go at it. I didn't have a clue who had it. I actually thought they'd recovered it, so I was quite surprised we had it because there's a few guys getting a shot. But it was a good run, but then ball security. If you're going to run 10, 15 yards and have a good explosive day, you've got to hang on to the ball. And Deshaun Elliott now has, I think, his first forced fumble of the year. He's got 3 in his career only. And it's just another great, he's having a fantastic year as well. It's going to be really hard to get him to sign to extension because he's going to have a lot of offers in free agency, I feel like. So, yeah. But that was us stamping our authority pretty quickly.
That's it. You've got to set the tempo for the game. We say second play of the game, we got the ball off them. That's setting the tempo. That's giving your offense a chance to go and make plays. And that's the thing. It was all complementary football because we went and scored from that. You know, it's something that we've just not done in a long time. One, we very rarely turn it over. And 2, on the occasions that we do turn it over, we usually don't take advantage of it. But this is how regular good NFL teams play. And I think it's just been a while since we've been accustomed to being able to say that. But that's it. You just set the tempo from the beginning of the game. Turnover, points on the board, immediate pressure on Jacksonville. They've immediately got to start altering the playbook, you know, the way they operate. And that set the tone for the game. Snap 1, we wanted it more through to the end snap of the game. Even come to the very end, we still wanted it more. And that's what Dan Campbell's all about, beating you by tempo.
Plus, this Jags team at this point last year was like minus 20 in turnover margin. They came into yesterday's game +3, so they were in the green. This team does not give the ball away a lot. They really don't give you a lot of options, and they take the ball away as well. So turnovers were going to be massive.
So our drive starts at the Jags 35. Start out with a tight end screen to Brock Wright. And then the first time I can remember with the Lions doing an RPO, and they actually did it a few times in this game. I don't know if it's matchup specific, but I don't remember us running that a lot, and Goff didn't actually execute it that well, I have to admit, but there we go. 3rd and 7. Then, so down at like the 10-yard line at this point. Big 3rd and 7. And Amon-Ra St. Brown takes the ball, tips by a linebacker, and he goes and gets it before it's picked off, and then he's down at the half-yard line. And Jamal up the gut runs behind the right guard, which is surprising, I think, given the fact that guy's, 3rd, 4th string right guard at this point. But he managed to get a lot of pressure up there, and he's got his 14th touchdown of the season. PAT is good, and the Lions are up 7-0. That tipped ball play, man, that had so much potential to go wrong. What a grab by Amon-Ra and the start of a fantastic day for him, man.
Sometimes you just need a bit of luck. How many times have we seen it for other teams in games against us? They've had a lucky deflection here, a little tip of the ball there, just something. Sometimes you just need that. The thing is, capitalize on it. If you do get that small bit of good fortune, then maximize it to the fullest. And we did. We varied the selection of pass. The offense was very varied. Ben Johnson called a really good game. The play calls, Jacksonville didn't know what was hitting them, and especially those linebackers. I spent all my time during the week talking up the first 2 lines of that defense, and that the secondary was trash. But boy, oh boy, their linebackers were awful. But Ben Johnson saw that early and exploited it. So it was a great drive. Jamal goes over again, keeps up his red hot form. It's what you do. Ride with the guy who's doing well. Good start to the game. Immediate points on the board after a turnover. All momentum is in our favor.
Yeah. Things have changed because, if you go back 6 weeks ago, that ball's picked. I think it's the back or the corner comes underneath. He gets like two hands on it. He bobbles it. And then concentration, because Andrew Wingard literally comes in and again lays a hammer. He was laying the wood. Like you say, he comes in and he meets Amon-Ra just as the ball's bouncing up and he just nabs it, gets him down at the 1 yard line. But yeah, we'll take that. If it's the new way around, you're probably like despairing that it's a dropped pick. But Amon-Ra shows great concentration to see it up when it bobbles it and then come down with it. And then, like I say, I think Jamal Williams passed Billy Sims' record for the most 1 yard touchdowns. He's got 8. Billy Sims had 7. He's now 2 behind Barry's record of 16 this season. He's going to get that easily. He's going to surpass that easily. We get that many punch-ins. Like I said, he's basically a better, stronger, younger Adrian Peterson, who is also a 1 yard machine, but can do a lot more. So he's found that niche role. And yeah, that instantly, like, Jags are straight back to like reset. Like, what do we do? Like I say, we've lost the ball. We're now behind. They're not used to playing from behind. They don't like it. They're a team that wants to be in front and try hold the ball because they want to run the ball. So yeah, that was the perfect drive, perfect start. And yeah, we spread the ball out all over. Like I say, Wright gets a touch. Williams, Amon-Ra, Chark, everyone.
And then moving on to the next drive. And the Jags know they need to come back hard considering they're down a possession and 7 points here. And it's a lovely throw to start things off to Christian Kirk. Crossing route against zone coverage. He beats Deshaun Elliott. And then they can't complete a 3rd and 1, throw too high to Manhurts, but Agnew on the jet sweep on 4th and 1 converts it. Then a 3rd and 3 in the Lions' red zone, and over the middle, Zay Jones can't bring it in. The start of a really bad day for him after I picked him to be the pick of the receivers. Field goal's good from 31. Detroit get off the field and still ahead 7-3. And then the next possession, Swift starting to just turn it on. Didn't see much of him in the first drive, but you can see his mentality's just changed. He's dipping outside and then he's actually turning it and he's actually going down between the tackles. He's like countering inside rather than bouncing outside, which is really nice to see. Goff then with a lovely throw, probably the best throw of the day, I would say, to DJ Chark for 41. Then a play action pass from the 10 and a quick outbreaking route to Amon-Ra St. Brown for a touchdown. P80's good in 14-3 Lions. Let's talk about the Jags not quite getting there. Zay Jones dropping it. I mean, that drive in general, that throw to Kirk was absolutely incredible. Did you feel that the momentum could have swung back their way if they'd got 7 on the board?
I thought they were going to. The Christian Kirk pass, like I say, it was annoying because, like I say, he goes through so many zones. Starts all the way on the right, catches it all the way on the left. He's passed off by numerous people. I think it goes from Jeff to Alex, then sends it out to Deshaun and Kirby, and like that was irritating. But like, yeah, you get one, and then the fly sweep. That is one of our nemesis. It's so hard to because we can't track those fast guys across the field. It's just a bread and butter play we always struggle with. Got to break when they're on 4th down with tipped ball because it's never has in his sights. Bad throw. Like I say, he couldn't corral that in. And then Zay Jones, yeah, that was big for us because they came down the field pretty quickly and looked like they were going to level it up. Like they were pretty consistent and they found some tempo as well. Like they were not letting substitutes. They were going pretty fast. You could tell both teams wanted to play fast and to mean the tempo. So yeah, that was a break for us, but a good hold. Like I said, halted a good drive to like it was going to square things up.
Yeah, and say they started off. Trevor Lawrence is a good quarterback. You're going to make throws like that on you occasionally, and you are going to give them up. You saw against the Ravens, he made some really clutch throws in similar situations. So the most important thing is you don't give up 7. It's what we've not done for a long time. We've kind of given up the long drives and then given up the 7 at the end of it. But any drive when you only give up a field goal if you're in your own red zone is a good thing. So, 7-3 early, you've got the chance to get back. And the critical thing after that is that you go and score again, because then that field goal means really very little at the end of it. And again, the guys came out. They played really well. DeAndre, he looks like he finally realizes the gravity of his situation, that Jamal Williams has taken his job and that his place in this team is under threat because he is playing like pre-injury DeAndre Swift again. He is playing a lot more smartly. He is playing through contact. He seems to be aware of where he's going again and aware that he needs to make plays because, yeah, Jamal's the number one guy at the minute, and rightly so. And then you've got Chark, who turns up, dime of a throw from Goff. Absolutely loved it. It's kind of the thing with having JMO back. You stretch the field a little bit more. You can do a few more of those passes. It opens things up for everybody. And again, great selection of plays. Jacksonville had no answer to it. You put the score down on the board. You're 14-3 up early. You're 2 scores up, and that limits their ability, as I say, to run the football. And again, the bigger the league gets, the bigger the hole it puts the team in. Its momentum early in the game, and it was just all with us. It was completely and utterly relentless, and they had no answers for it. So it was a good stop from the defense. Just give up a field goal, that's fine. You can live with that. And then the offense came out and did its thing again from a not great position on the field either. So yeah, just continuing theme of the game.
And I mean, let's get straight back on that, Ant. I went through it. What a lovely throw by Goff to Chark for 41. That was the start of a bumper day for Chark too. But it's just a 50-50 ball. But there's absolutely no way that anyone else is getting it but Chark, and he snags it. I mean, it's just the timing on that route was absolutely everything. And Chark didn't have to do much. Like, it was just in the breadbasket, and he looked great all day. And then the touchdown to Amon-Ra Brown, there was something almost processional about it.
I might be thinking of the wrong play here, but was that not the one where the defender got his arm across Chark?
Yeah.
And Chark still got it?
It was a bad throw.
It wasn't an uncontested one for Chark. It was even more impressive because the guy had his arm in between his. He was kind of like here, and the arm was in at the side across. He had to catch it, and the guy sort of rips his arm out, so he could have like fumbled the ball as well. I thought it was a hella impressive catch from DJ Chark, to be fair. I mean, the throw was precise from Goff. I thought the coverage was great. It was kind of a really good play all around. The defender couldn't really do much more. Goff put it in a pretty decent area, but Chark really fought to get it. So I was really impressed with Chark. He needed this. But people forget he's been on IR, he's been injured, it's kind of not been there. And sometimes you just need one good game to, spark a guy. And this seemed to be, I know it's against his old team and he needs to again, but it was all great, that drive was. Amon-Ra again. I'm going to say this now, and I don't care who cares. He is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL at the minute, and I don't care if you want to disagree with that. In terms of the production he is putting up, he's 4 touchdowns and 300 yards ahead of Deebo Samuel. Deebo Samuel is glorified in running back, who now that he's having to play receiver for the 49ers, has been shown that he's not actually that great. Amon-Ra is above guys like him now. In his draft class, you can only say Chase and Waddle are better at this point. He was 17th, he was picked. He's 3rd out of them all now. He is playing at such a high level at the minute. It is top 10 wide receiver in the NFL, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Guy is on a tear, and teams can't deal with him. When you get him stuck into those linebackers and they're not having a day like they were yesterday, he'd go kill you. Absolutely kill you. And it was great to see him get on the board early as well. Just again, get your playmakers in early, get them confident, get them making plays. And it just happened all throughout the game. He made their life an absolute nightmare. But again, I just loved the tempo of it. We were just relentless and we just kept putting points down on them. And that's what you got to do to win games. Just bully teams out of a game. That's what Dan Campbell wants to do. That's what Dan Campbell is starting to do.
I agree. I'd actually say right now that if I was given the option, Waddle or Amon-Ra, I'd probably keep Amon-Ra. I think Waddle has been bumped down now. Tyreek Hill has stolen his thunder. Waddle's now just a glorified receiver too. And their production actually is not much different. Waddle's got a few more touchdowns, that's it, but he's got a few more catches. So I'd say right now, they're probably both on par with each other to say they were taken so far apart. So I'd say he's surpassed a good majority of that class as a whole. And I think it's fun, like I say, everyone goes on about, I know how much the fact it bothers him. how, like you say, he checks their stats now. He checks what they've been doing the week before, what they're doing at halftime. Like you say, he's got a strong one-track mind as Amon-Ra. He's got a serious chip on his shoulder, and I kind of like that because some guys just aren't motivated enough. You could say he's too motivated about what guys are doing, too bothered. But whatever gets you out of bed in the morning before your alarm, whatever motivates you, whatever wants you to do better, like it's fine. I don't care if he hates every one of those guys. If it's revenge, whatever he wants, like it don't bother me. I don't care what motivates him because it's working.
It's with the Detroit mentality. It's kind of everyone looks down on us, and it's like, right, well, I'm going to be better than you. I'm going to prove everybody wrong, and in a way, it's a perfect fit for this team. But I mean, you look back at that entire draft in terms of value for position, he's right up there. May even be top in terms of value of what you're getting for the pick that you've used. I mean, I said like Chase and Waddle are probably a little better than him, but they were first overall. They were first round picks. They were what, 6 and 7? I mean, I'm right. Was it 6 and 7? Oh no, not 6 and 7 because Panay was 7, wasn't he? 5 and 6. Amon-Ra is in the hundreds. So in terms of value for position you got, he's already top 2 years in. But
by far,
yeah,
100%. Yeah, I just absolutely incredible drive. Like at that point at 14-3, all I was thinking was, if we don't dig our own grave, this is ours. Like at this point, it's going to be tough. Like for a team to turn this start around, you've got to have some serious stones. And I doubted the Jags, and they didn't prove me wrong. Next drive for the Jags, SEM with a nice 15 yards gain on a screen versus a blitz. They called the absolute perfect play, and that could have broke for a touchdown. Lions covered it well. Nice 3rd down and 6 conversion to Christian Kirk. Then Malcolm Rodriguez had a heck of an open field tackle on ETN on the far sideline. He was breaking out, looked like he could gain 15 or 20, but he stopped him for 1 or 2. Then just the start of a few confusing play calls, I think, for Jacksonville. They were passing the ball quite well. Like, not really well, but it was efficient enough. And on 3rd and 5, near midfield, they go running back draw. Gains a yard, 4th and 4, they punt away. And it's just like, I know that we sometimes call draw on 3rd and 10, but you know what? It works more often than it doesn't for us. So your play design just must be bad. But like, other teams don't do that for a reason. So I don't know what they were doing there.
I felt like they gave up on that play.
They really did.
I think that was. I felt like that was the play where I'm like, oh, hang on, I think we're actually going to win this because it's conservative. It's not aggressive. And when you're down 11 points so early in a game, and you're conservative with your play call, and it's like, they don't trust them. You're simply saying you don't trust your offense in that situation. It's really, you got to throw. So yeah, I thought they'd given up by that point.
Especially for the team that goes for it on the most of 4th down as well. They punted a lot, didn't they? They're the league's leading. They entered the day 11 of 22, and they only went for it a few times, and they got down to 4th down quite a few times, and they were behind the entire game. They really did not try force the issue.
I'm pretty sure they said Pedersen goes for it on 4th down more than Campbell does. And there can't be that many coaches round who do that, in fairness. So I was shocked as well. It's like, maybe, because the other drives have faltered and that.
I mean, they were 3 or 4 on 4th down. I mean, when they went for it, they got it more often than not.
Their 3rd down is garbage. I think the 2 weeks
bad.
before this, I think that you said, what did you say? 3 of 12
3
this
of 12,
week?
Yeah.
And I think the 2 weeks previous to this, because when I was doing research, I think there were 3 of 12 and 3 of 8 in the 2 weeks. They are garbage. I mean, overall, it says they're 40% on 3rd downs, but these last 3 or 4 weeks, they must be down at like 15 or 20. It's just gone. But that's when we put them in lots of 3rd and long situations, and we kind of force them to make mistakes early in that aspect. So when you do that and you've taken the run game away from them, it never got going, the run game. And that just makes it so much easier for you as a team to be able to defend against. I mean, with a big commish who stuffed that run, he just was like, yeah, you would go nowhere, son. It was brutal.
A great day by Commish. On that next drive then, to the Lions after the punt, which wasn't a great punt either. I think it went for net 30 yards out of the 15 or so. It was rubbish. Slalom run by Jamal for 15 to start it up, give us a bit of breathing space, and then quarter ends, I think, so now we're going right to left, and Swift just not covered on a check down. There's a busted coverage somewhere. Goff just chucks it out to Swift on the far sideline. At the line of scrimmage, not very far down the field. And he runs 25 yards just completely untouched. It's just absolutely baffling play calling and execution by the Jags. Then a nice catch by Chark, called incomplete on the field. MCDC challenges it and wins. I have to admit, I'll just get this in here before I finish off this little bit. I did not think that was a challenge you could win, just something which was going to stand on the field, but I was very nicely wrong. 3rd and 6 comes, and Goff, with pressure in his face, can't convert but throws it away. And a 45-yard field goal by Badgley is good. 17-3 Detroit. That Swift play for 25 set up that 3 points. They basically gave it away, boys. And then let's talk about that challenge too. I think we're all happy after the event that he went for it, but anyone have any trepidation that he'd lose it afterwards, or before it, sorry?
That was a garbage call from the refs. Thought it was very obvious that it was a catch, and I kind of felt at that point like they were almost feeling a bit sorry for Jacksonville. I don't know what they were seeing, but I was very confident it was going to get overturned, and we were right to be so. Yeah, it was a garbage call, but again, another really promising drive. I mean, Jamal's run was just indicative of how confident he is at the minute. I mean, last year there were loads of 2-3 yard gains to them, but there wasn't really much there. This one, he just bulldozed his way through. He got the 15. He's running with confidence at the minute. And I know he's never the flashy guy who gets the 30, 40 yard runs, etc. But what he does do, he's been getting a lot better at those hard yards through the middle, of really just taking guys with him and getting that. Something we've had done against us so many times. He seems to have really embraced that role now. And I think that opens things up for Swift then. Like I say, you bring Swift in the backfield. Oh, what are we going to do with him? I mean, the busted coverage was really bad. That's something we've done a lot as well. We seem to bust those coverages against running backs a lot, but it's nice to see some other team doing it. But I just think at this point we had them flustered. They didn't know whether we were just going to power it through the middle, because that's what we were doing. Jared Goff, who was airing it out a lot. And that's what I mean. When you have your whole offense available to you, it's a nightmare for DCs to scheme against. Because when you don't have the downfield threat, it just brings everything closer up. It narrows the field. Those kind of screens just get snuffed out. When you got deep threats thrown on you, you've got to sit back a little bit, which is why Swift wasn't picked up. So it's just all a byproduct of being healthy and the overall team plan coming together. This is what they wanted the team to be, and now they've got all the pieces to finally play like that. So yeah, just carried on going. And the critical thing, I know we got stopped, but we still put points up again. Another 3 points on the board. Scoreboard's rolling. The kickoff. At this point, you're 14 up. 14 up. Yeah, you're 14 up. So you're 2 scores up. Again, just cranking the pressure on the Jags. You're not letting up. You're relentless. How many times over the last few years have we kind of scored a few like that, and then 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, giving teams time to get back into games, time to reassert their authority against us? We didn't here. We just kept scoring points, and they had no answer.
I think with the catch, because the side judge gives it and then the back judge overrules him, I think he challenges. I think if it's given no catch on the field by everyone, I don't think he challenges it. I think it'd have just been like fair enough, but he must have thought, if someone thinks I've caught it, we've got a chance to overturn it. And in the end, pretty good call. I think Jerome Boger and the crew on the day were actually really good. One of the best reffing actual crews we've had all season. They were pretty balanced, and they didn't give any stupid, egregious calls that we used to. This was a run of drives that started stalling, but the majority of them we were well into field goal range, which was fine by me, because we were actually getting into the points where we've now trusted the kicker. At least we weren't getting down to like the 30-yard line and punting for 10 yards and giving away all the momentum. We've now got a kicker we can trust. So a couple of 3 points on a couple of drives adds up, choose clock. And I agree. Like I say, I think it's either a back or a corner. Like I say, he just bails all the way into coverage. does not even see the running back come out the field and decides that he's not going to crash down. Just literally, they just shepherd him across the field and he just runs out of bounds. And if you're going to give Swift 25 free yards with no contact, he'll take them all day because that's bread and butter. So, yeah. And then they finally bring a bit of pressure. They do a good job of getting a coverage, like a coverage throw where there's no one downfield. Two guys break out, flush go to the sideline, and yeah, he gets rid of it. And then Badgley steps in. Like I say, at this point, 14-0 lead, but it feels fairly safe. We've not seen anything from them at all that feels like they're going to instantly go down this field and score. So you just trust the defense to do the job on the next drive.
And talk about trusting the defense to do the job. The very next drive, pass breakup by Will Harris in tight coverage, crossing from centre field to the right-hand side as the Jags saw it coming towards the near sideline. He's in really tight coverage. At the catch point, competes. Ball falls incomplete. Will Harris is, he had one bad game earlier where everyone said cut him again, but sneakily is having a very, very good year this year, especially by his standards at the very least. That brings up 3rd and 7, and John Kaminsky bats the ball up into the air at the line, and he is very much going to make that interception, but James Houston has no idea where the ball is and unfortunately walks into his path. That takes an INT off the board, but an exceptional play by John Kaminsky just when it looks like, maybe the Jags, if they're going to wrestle back some momentum, really need to make a play here to an open guy. Catch is probably going to be made at this point, unless it's to Zay Jones. I didn't check, but, never mind. And the Lions get off the field once again. Jags punt, and the Lions get the ball back. Raymond returns for a really nice return, and he had a great day all day returning the ball. He beat a few people and got it back for 15 yards. Goff slings it to Chark for 20 to midfield. An end around but to Amon-Ra and Brown. The second, one of two end arounds they did, which were just awful. But even though it was blown up, Amon-Ra still managed to gain 2 rather than lose it. The drive finishes off by Goff being flushed out the pocket. He avoids the sack initially, but can't find anyone and takes a weak sack near this near sideline, about 1 yard loss, and then a 47-yard field goal is good. I know that you boys, and I saw Ant do it visibly, shake his head at me giving Will Harris some faint praise. But it was a good play, and he had a good game today. And then Kamish, with that batting down, it could have been an INT. I'm not putting any blame on Houston because he didn't know where he was. That's fine. And then we progress down the field and get another field goal. It was easy. Not easy. Easy puts the Jags down and doesn't give us enough credit, I don't think. It was surgical. Like, Ryan, it just felt precise.
I mean, it's easier for Kaminsky. Kaminsky's got the hand size of a tennis racket. Like, it looks great with that big fucking club on it. Like, it really does help at line of scrimmage, I must say. Like, he has got a big mitt stuck in the air, and he's one of those guys that's got the IQ that when he can't get there, he bails and then he jumps and puts his hands up. Most guys don't learn to do that or don't remember to do that. If they don't give 100% and don't get there, they don't think to try getting the passing lane. I've seen John do it multiple times this year. Just got a knack of getting in the way. And then, Houston is behind. Literally, the ball drops behind him, gets in the way. Annoying, but get the ball back. And one thing we did all game was bring the ball out the end zone. The Jags did not bring the ball out the end zone nearly all game. Jamal Agnew did not look interested one bit. I only saw him return like one kick, and the rest of them were just touchbacks, and they all fell to him. Like I say, he didn't want none of that, didn't even look interested. But good field position. We got like 20, 30 yards in average, ball at 25, 30. And then good drive. That was the only bad play, or the play where Goff didn't look confident. He stops and he tries to check in. He looks forward like, I'm going to try rush for the first down, but he stops and he has a think about it, and then they sack him. Like I say, instead of throwing the ball away, he could have got himself hurt. But I thought he should just run out of bounds. He checked back in. He looked like he was going to try and make something happen. I thought, no, please don't make a Jared play. Please don't throw a pick or something stupid. Or don't try rush and fumble. But luckily they just brought him down there. But another drive, ends in 3 points. Like I say, he did it comfortably in field goal range. Badgley steps up from 47, straight down the middle. like I say. And I think it is fair to say easy because we made it look easy, and I was very disappointed with how the Jags were. So I actually am willing to put them down a little bit. They really did not turn up at all in the slightest. But yeah, it was a frustrating drive, but it ended in points and it chewed clock. And that's probably the two things that were most important to the win.
Good teams make it look easy, though. I think that's the thing. Yeah, we were a really good team on the day, and we made it look quite good. If I'm Kaminsky, I'm dipping that in plastic acid, going in like olive oil or something when I start. Just so when teams just can't grab hold of it already, I just give myself an advantage with that thing. It is a monster. I think he makes the breakup because of it. But hey, it's complimentary football. The defense stood up, made the couple of plays that they needed to. We get the ball back, and again, it was a bit of a stuttery drive, but like Ryan said, there's still points at the end of it. If you can't convert into touchdowns, just get field goal, especially when you're ahead. It's scoreboard pressure. 3 points is 3 points. By this point, it's what, 20-3, it's 17, it's a 3-score game. It's like panic stations. Even in the first half, being 3 scores down in a game is panic stations because really you can't run the ball as much. You've got to be a bit more up tempo. You are going to make mistakes. And that's where we benefited from. So, just good complementary football from both sides of the team. Defense make a stop, offense get points. That's all you want at your most base. It's for them to work together and create opportunities for one another, and they did. So, well done to both sides.
The only thing I want to mention negatively about this, because I feel like I need to find somewhere that we can improve, and I hate to harp on about this guy, but I am going to do it, is the snap for that field goal was awful. Like, really bad. You have a look at Jack Fox, and they mention it on the coverage as well, that Fox has to almost fall over to go and get the ball. It's like half a yard to a yard further away to Fox than you'd ideally like it. Like, you want it kind of into the body so that you can get it down and place it. But he's got to properly extend his arms to go and get it. Scott Daly, for me, I mean, at the end of the day, we made 8 kicks out of 8. Like, he had a relatively good day, all things told. But I don't want... More often than not, when a kicker misses a field goal, misses a PAT, it's the kicker that gets it in the neck. But if you have a look at the way Scott Daly's been performing this year, I fear that Badgley is going to get a bad rap from missing some really key moments when the snap's going wrong, and I just want to see him improve. I don't want to cut the guy, because I think he's had a relatively good year. But I've seen too many instances of this where the snap's just not quite on the money. And I think there's room for improvement there. So that's all I'm going to say. It was still a good day by him, but one negative thing that I can say all day, so I'm going to say it.
Kind of ironic that you say the kicker always gets it in the neck, but you've done nothing but give jip to the long snapper all season. You're not giving any accountability to the kicker at all.
I think Badgley's been great. The one kick he missed, it was a bad snap. I don't know what else you want me to say.
I don't know why you're really complaining, though. If we are missing kicks regularly because of it, then fine, but we're not. It's not a problem. It's not, repeat after me, it is not a problem. The fact that you're having to whinge about the long snappers shows the lack of problems we have here right at this moment in time.
James Burgess on the YouTube chat just said, long snappers are hard to come by. Truth, it's why our last guy lasted until he's almost 40. Was he not 40? I swear he was 40 when he was still here.
They cut him on his birthday.
Yes. Yeah.
Pretty sure he was like 42 or something, wasn't he? He was older than 40.
What an absolute legend. He's going on the Mount Rushmore of Lions players. I'm sure of it. Anyway.
Well, hopefully by the time we're all 40, we don't have to put long snappers on our Mount Rushmore, because with all due respect to them, they shouldn't be on there.
Right, so that field goal made it 20-3. Jags get back on the ball. Really nice 3rd down and 7 conversion to Kirk to the Lions 28. 3 absolutely meh plays, just... I think it was incomplete pass, run for 2, incomplete pass, field goal from 42 is good, 20-6 to the Lions. They didn't threaten us down the field in key moments. They managed to pass the ball fine in short bursts, but they were up to nothing, really. And then the Lions get back on the ball. And Justin Jackson, the kick return all the way out to the 33, as Ryan said earlier. Great starting field position once again. Quick wide receiver screen to Amon-Ra St. Brown for a first down. That was on the near sideline. Very next play, Amon-Ra St. Brown screen to the far sideline. They didn't know what they were doing. He got another 9 off that one. Goff then sacked, losing 1 yard, forcing 4th and 2. No need to go for this one because of how far you are in front. Field goal from 38 is good. Lions lead 23-6. And then finally, last drive in this half, Lawrence sacked by James Houston. Some guys in the chat, and I think Ant mentioned it as well, with Hutchinson triple teamed in Houston. With his trademark move, it seems like it. I'm not sure he has a massive array of pass rush moves, but get into the shoulder of your defender, your tackle, then drop your shoulder and just turn the corner with absolute ferocity. And he's beaten 3 people with it so far, and I don't know how you stop it. It's absolutely electric. But the way he comes round, he's so low to the ground that even though he hits Lawrence in his waist, all of the power is going through that knee. And that knee with the studs still into the turf turns the ankle. You can see how much pain Lawrence was in after that. And I'm really surprised that he came out for the second half. He just looked in all sorts of problems. A little bit to go through there, boys. The Jags field goal drive, which was just rubbish. And then Lions progressing down for 3 for themselves. And on 4th down and 2, another Lions team in a more competitive game would have gone for that, but there was no need to. And then the sack by Houston. That's what we've got to talk about for this. And what did you make of that little trio of possessions?
Again, it's limiting the points they're scoring. And as you said, doesn't matter if we're at field goals at this point. We're like nearly 20 up at this point. So as long as you keep that gap consistent, they score 3, you score 3, they've got to go again. They're exactly where they were 6-7 minutes ago. Clock pressure starts to tell. It was just, again, I say it a lot today, but it's just complimentary football on both sides. The defense made plays when it needed to, and the offense always got to within field goal range. I mean, the amount of times we've had to punt in the past because the offense has just never got anything going. You know, the fact that we're in a position now where the offense on its worst drives will still allow us to get field goals just shows how far it's coming. You know, how well the play calling's going. So, you know, I loved everything from both sides of the ball really in regards to that. And then Houston's taking his opportunities here. Now, I know everyone's saying I didn't say this, by the way. I know everyone's saying Aiden's triple teamed and this is giving Houston opportunities, but I feel like that's been really disingenuous to James Houston. He's up against Cam Robinson. He is a middle of the pack left tackle at NFL level. He might be in that 10 to 15 range for left tackle, sort of where Decker is. He's pretty decent, and he's got to beat him one-on-one when he's pushing down on his back. You know, that takes skill. The skip and submarine, as I call it, you know, the skip to set him up, the submarine underneath him, to be able to keep his balance while he's got the left tackle pushing down on him, and for him to execute the tackle perfectly, I think is a beautiful piece of play by him. And I think just anyone who just automatically goes, oh, well, Hutch did it all for him by getting the tackle, I feel that's very disingenuous to Houston. He has had a really good start to his career here. And while at the minute, he's kind of like a 3rd down edge who will come in obvious passing situations, and they don't trust him with the early downs yet, which is fine. He's going to take his time to do that. But what he's coming in and he's doing is really impressive. You know, he had another pressure on the day as well after that. Nearly sacked Lawrence twice, again, going past Cam Robinson. You know, it's not an easy assignment. They don't give up a lot of sacks in Jacksonville. They really don't. I think they've given up less than we have all season. It's pretty close. I think it's like 13 to 14, but not many people get to him. And he did against a very good left tackle. So Houston's doing everything he needs to. He's followed up week 1. He showed week 1 wasn't just a fluke where he got a couple of easy pass rushes and made some sacks. He did it again today. And like I say, the technique was spot on. And he made the play when he needed to. His snap count went up from 5 to 12 or 13, I think it was, just gradually. But if he keeps on doing what he's doing, they'll trust him on 4th to 2nd down sooner rather than later. So again, I'm just delighted to see him in this team playing well. We knew he was a problem coming out of college, and he's been a problem at the NFL level now, and that is what we want. And I mean, 3 sacks already, 2nd amongst rookies. Kind of says it all, really, the impact he's having on this team.
And going to the final drive as well, it's pretty obvious we weren't going for it because there were only like 40 seconds left on the clock. We didn't use any timeouts. Like I say, we went into half time and we'd not taken a single timeout because we'd not needed to. So we definitely weren't going for a touchdown there. Like I say, they were happy to just milk the clock and take a chip shot. And at no point did it ever feel like they'd have gone for a touchdown there. I don't think they'd have risked it. I feel like he just was playing it safe, but we'd done the right to play it safe and just get to the half. And then the Lawrence injury just took all the momentum as well away. Like I said, it just zapped everything out the end of the half, and everyone was happy to just win. So, but that put an exclamation mark on the end of the half. Like I say, great move, wrapped up technique. He wrapped up, he squeezed the knees together, he pinched, he turned. You do it like a crocodile. That's how you tackle. And unfortunately, Trevor Lawrence got really lucky. Like I said, the knee twists, he gets trapped underneath him. I was very surprised he came out too in the second half, but he shook it off quickly. But yeah, it put an exclamation mark on the end of the half. And what, 23-6 up? Perfect. Couldn't have asked for much more, really.
Going into the second half then, and Jackson with another fantastic return. Gets us out to the 39 to start the second half in much the same way. He finished with 2 kick returns for 71 yards, average of 35.5, which is absolutely outstanding. Comes out, and then I think it's the second play, defensive pass interference on Amon-Ra St. Brown, only for 7 yards. Legs got tangled, looked a bit soft, but it was probably legit just about. Play action pass then to Amon-Ra St. Brown over the middle, and he gets absolutely hammered by Winfield. I mean, he hits the ball that hits Amon-Ra in the ribs. I'm sure he's feeling sore today. But to be fair to him, he lies on the ground for a while, picks himself up. He's, in bits on the sideline for a little while, and then he's in. He takes one play off, and he's straight back in. The guy's made of absolute stone. Then almost a pick six by Jared Goff. We won't remember this, but in a few days' time. But Jared Goff tries a little quick swing pass out to the far sideline. Josh Allen's read it all the way, and he's fingertips away from having the ball with clear daylight in front of him. Thank God he didn't, because, even a touchdown for the Jags on a turnover could absolutely change momentum here. Their Lions are not quite out of the woods just yet. Swift then pulls off a big run for 9 yards, ends up just short of the 1 yard line. Goff goes quickly, goes tempo. It never works for the Lions on a goal line situation. Don't run tempo and snap the ball quickly. Swift bottled up, but he stays up, bounces it to the outside, beats his man, dives for the line, and just about makes it. Touchdown Lions, PAT good, 30-6, and really, it's ball game from here, and how things can change. Josh Allen with a pick six, and, that makes a 10-point game. Instead, it's 24, and this time, it's really all started by Amon-Ra and all finished by Swift, boys.
Good drive. Let's say Justin Jackson, for me, unfortunately, means the end of Jamar Jefferson. I think one of them will be back next year, and only one of them is JJ. I think unfortunately Jamar is really going to struggle, and Craig Reynolds as well. I think Craig Reynolds has got a mountain to climb. Justin Jackson is really putting a dent on at least one of their chances next year because he's shown flashes as a returner. Got some good touches. He's got some good gain yardage as well in games using in small batches. So I think he's been a pretty good pickup this year. The drive, few breaks. Like I say, I didn't think it was pass interference. Like if Jeff Okudah, when he banged knees with Cole Kmet, was accidental, on this play, they're both looking at the ball and they clip each other's heels, both go over. That was a 50-50 one, but I'll take it. I can see where it was given. It extends the drive. Like I say, and then the drive, like I said, it felt like almost, it was one of those where, it's a hospital ball. When Amon-Ra catches it over the middle, that someone is going to make him pay for it. And Andrew Wingard, who I've been a big fan of for years out of Wyoming, one of the better safeties, especially at the NFC South, absolutely lays wood. But a lot of guys would have fumbled that. A lot would have coughed that ball up, and it could have been a big game-changing turnover. But Amon-Ra never skips core day, doesn't skip leg day, never skips any day. He's a gym freak, and he's super tough. He says he works out for stuff just like that because he knows that he's not the biggest and strongest. And yeah, takes the play off, catches his breath, comes right back, and it's a great drive. And then like I said, it was a weird play at the end, like I said, because they hurry to the line and not everyone's ready. Even the Jags aren't ready. And like I say, give it to Swift, blowing up the middle. Like I say, he bounces outside. I think it's the back. It might be Olokuden. Takes a shot at him, misses, bounces out again, and in the corner goes to wrap him up. And Swift did it a few times this game. He knows that when he twists like a crocodile and rolls over, he stretches out, and he literally just gets the ball over the line while he's twisting. And in the end, he made something out of nothing. That play should have been stonewall dead. The tackle there should never have let him get that far. But bit of imagination, persistence, and that elusiveness, and that's the DeAndre Swift we all love and know. And game over. 36. This game is dead and buried. Turn out the nightlight. It's time for bed. They were never coming back. Their heads dropped after that drive. I think lots of things went against them, and we really made them pay for it. And I think that broke their spirit.
Yeah, it's not very often you find me doing this, but the DPI call was trash. I don't know how we got it. In fairness, I felt like we got incredibly lucky. There was very little contact, and it really, really probably should not have been called. But it helped, and we've had enough of those over the years where we've had them given us against us, so I ain't gonna complain. But again, yeah, I mean, the highest my heart rate got in this game, which is indicative of just how good it was when Amon-Ra got hit and did not get off the ground straight away. When he doesn't get off the ground, my pulse goes up probably double what it usually is. I'm just like, oh my God, I hope he's all right. But we should know better by now. He's just like a piece of metal, isn't he? You can hit him as hard as you want. You could just walk up and like hit him with a sledgehammer and he'd get back up. Like Ryan says, he does core day. He works out specifically for this. That's why he's such a perfect fit for this team, just because he's as hardcore as you like as a wide receiver. There are very few guys, I would ordain to say there probably are no better guys than him in terms of the physicality when it comes to wide receivers, in terms of getting involved in the blocking, taking the big hits, all that. And like I say, he's had the frame. He shouldn't. He really, really shouldn't at this level. But it's special. It's completely and utterly special what he does on a field, and we are blessed. I just love every single play we have with him. As for DeAndre, I mean, that's the DeAndre we know. Like I said, it should have been stonewalled, should have been dead, but he kept on going. I feel like there's a period a few weeks ago where he probably would have just gone to the ground. Because he was at one stage just going to ground instead of taking the contact. But he didn't. He fought for it all. He got the touchdown. As Ryan says, game is done then and there. I know when they scored the touchdown later on, people said, oh, were you scared of a comeback? No, I really was not at this point. It's just too insurmountable a gap for any team. So Lions finished the game in style, and they really rounded it out, and they didn't stop. And think you're that far in front, and they still didn't stop. And that's what Dan Campbell preaches. Get on top, keep hammering away until that final whistle goes. That's what they did.
You said about Amon-Ra being made out of metal, and it made me think actually about a comparison. You can check your Jamar Chase. He's probably gold. You can take your Jalen Waddle. He's probably platinum. But our Amon-Ra St. Brown is stainless steel, and you can build on that. You know what? It's probably more useful and just as valuable at the end of the day. So
could have been built here in Sheffield.
If you don't know, Sheffield is the steel city of the UK. Let's move it on now, and it's almost dead, so I'll kind of fly through this a little bit quicker. Evan Engram jots an easy one. Comes to 4th and 1, and T-Law converts it with his legs. Pitch out to Etienne with a nice tackle for a loss by Derek Barnes. We'll probably forget about that one too, but about a yard behind the line. Really nice read by him. Followed straight up by a lovely pass break up by Jerry in the end zone near sideline. Against Marvin Jones, he tips the ball up, and on another day, he's either picking it off or Jones is going back and getting it because it just kind of hangs in the air that a little bit too long to make you uncertain. But a lovely play by Jerry nonetheless. Finishes off, though, with a nice pick play to Evan Engram. Touchdown on the far sideline. The 2-point play is good, and one of the prettiest plays I've seen this entire NFL season. So Lawrence in shotgun moves out to the halfback position in shotgun. Etienne then goes under, or he becomes the wildcat quarterback in shotgun. He then hands it off to Lawrence, who reverses it and hands it off to Jamal Agnew for a touchdown. It was just very nicely designed. Lions, as Ryan said about Agnew's sweep earlier, we just got no chance against that sort of play. We don't play very well against it. That makes it from a 24-point game to a 16-point game, still technically 2 possessions at this point. Lions come out. Jamal fumbles in I formation, but Detroit recover. Nice third down conversion to Swift, and then Swift with a with a running back screen. He's very elusive and gets about 15. Another end around this time to Raymond, and this time it is a tackle for a loss. Just stop doing that play, please. Goff then a nice throw to Chark for a first down on a crossing route, and then a bogus holding call on Jackson. Sorry, the guard Jackson. I was going to say Justin Jackson. That's completely wrong guy. Jonah Jackson. There's too many JJs in this team. Third down and 12. Goff throws it away. 44-yard field goal's good, and it's a 19-point and 3-possession game again. 33-14 Detroit. Just want to start off with that defensive set for the Lions. I know they gave up the touchdown, but the TFO for Barnes, the PBU by Jerry, it was a good drive by everyone concerned, really.
Jerry Jacobs is just an anomaly, isn't he? Think how long he's been injured. And forgetting he's an undrafted free agent from last year, so not exactly coming in with the highest of pedigree in terms of what the professionals think. And I mean, he came back, 3 weeks ago? 4 weeks ago? And 1 week he didn't even play any defensive snaps. And now he's playing every single snap of every single game and making plays the way he is against some good receivers. You know, that was a big play from him, and it wasn't his only one of the day. The man defies belief. That's why everybody loves him so much. He just seems to have this thing where he's like Amon-Ra. He's like, I don't care if there were 100 cornerbacks taken in the draft before me, etc. I'm going to play better than the lot of them. And it's hard to argue against. You know, this is just, he's a young guy who's come in, who has performed incredibly well. And I think this is a big reason why the defense has got better, because before we had Amani in there, and with due respect to Amani, he looks like he's done here. He doesn't really care about it. When you put in the guy who really cares for this team, he's got a lot to prove here, and he's fighting 150% every play. And it's the reemergence of guys like this into the team coming back from injury, which is, I believe, made it a lot better. Jerry's kind of like a standard bearer at this point, and I loved it. And again, they lost a lot of time taking this touchdown and the 2-point conversion. It took them a while, and it's just, at this point, the clock's working against them. It's done. It's dusted, and I don't really care. It's garbage time. You give up points sometimes in these situations. I'm not too fussed overall about what goes on there, but defense still looked like they were making good plays. And then offensively, again, we put up more points afterwards. Jamal had the fumble, and we do need to maybe address this a bit because it is happening a few times. But again, great selection of plays from Ben Johnson. You know, you get a little bit of luck in there. I mean, you mentioned Trayvon Walker in there. I mean, guy was the first overall pick in the draft, and I think that's the first time we've mentioned him. And I'm assuming by this point, we've gone past the play where Jared Goff broke his ankles, which is probably it was my most fun play of the day. Seeing Jared Goff break his ankles and break contain against him was just perfect. Because first overall pick, he looked fucking awful, really, really bad. But yeah, gave up the touchdown, didn't panic, put points on the board. This is game over at this point, and I'm not ashamed to say at this point, it's just like, I'm just kind of waiting for the game to end now. Really happy, but it just kind of had an inevitability about it at this point. So, and the holding call was bogus. It's the only penalty we got all day. We could have had a perfect game in terms of penalties, but I'll take it. What have I said a lot of times on this show, especially when we weren't doing so well? If you aren't the best quality team, be the most disciplined team, because it levels the playing field. It means that your offense ain't behind the sticks, giving their defense a chance to make plays, and it means your defense is getting in favorable situations, longer third downs, etc. And we played a very well-disciplined game. And that just makes you a more dangerous team. When you're not giving them any freebies at all, when they've got to earn every single yard instead of get it through penalty yardage, makes it that much harder for them to play. And the way we were playing this day, giving them no extra while still pounding the hell out of them, all these things combined together to make this such a dominant win. So discipline-wise from the team, amazing. That's what we've wanted for a while, and they're getting noticeably better now. The calls are starting to die down against us.
They only scored on this drive because the officials probably felt bad. Numbers, I think it was the right tackle, jumped false side, I think 3 times, and they just chose to overlook it. He kept jumping back way before the rest of the line, and it was really fucking irritating, to be honest. This drive, we made them pull out all the bag of tricks. Barnes did what he did best. He shot the gap between the 2 blockers on the screen. Nice tackle for loss. Like I say, Jerry, good. Like I say, Marvin Jones beats him off the line. He's bigger, he's rangier, gets in behind him, but Jerry makes a good recovery. I wish I could put Jerry Jacobs' brain in Amani's body. He'd be perfect. If he was just bigger, stronger, I think he'd be one of the top cores in the NFL. If he's not already, like say, as one of those more undersized, more hardworking, tougher, grittier guys. I think Armani, yeah, he's done. I think he'll just be set free. Like when you get a jar of tadpoles and you just pour them into a lake. Like that's what Armani is. Go be a frog somewhere else. I think
lovely image.
Can be kind. And the fake wildcat QB pitch reverse was really nice. I did really like that play. I didn't even realize I had the ball. It was well designed, but by then, like I say, it's too late. They've had to dig deep back. Where was that play when they were like 14, 26 down? Like 26 down, where's that play? What good is it when you're that? Wait, what good is it now in the game? So they'll have been really frustrated. And then yeah, John Jackson, he pancakes the guy and then basically sits on him, and they call the wrong number for holding. I don't know who it was supposed to be, but no one was holding. Definitely not his number. So that killed what a drive that would have put a cherry on the cake. But Badgley steps up, does what he does, and yeah, that was the crescendo.
I think they probably just called it for serious bullying, didn't they? I mean, we were just bullying them that bad. Refs are like, right, I've got to give them some sympathy flags here. Kind of feels like that one is. But isn't it amazing how Amani gets scratched for this game? Mike Hughes doesn't see a single snap. I mean, sort of, how praiseworthy is that towards the starting corners? That your senior guy in his 4th year, who's supposed to be vying for a contract, and the one established vet on the team who's actually had severe playing time in the NFL, don't see the field. And we don't miss them, not one bit. I mean, I disagree with Riz that we don't need a corner in the draft upcoming. You can still add depth and get stronger, but I mean, isn't it just nice that we don't need these guys anymore? You know, that we've got our own young studs there that we've grown ourselves who are playing lights out. Just makes your team so much better when your players are like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Next drive, Trevor Lawrence, another sack against him, half a sack each for Aiden and Benito Jones. It feels a bit unfair for Aiden to actually share that one because he got there first, completely stopped him, and Benito just took him down at the end. But there we go. That's the game. That's how it works. Then an amazing play by Alex Anzalone. 3rd down, little throw to ETN on a running back screen. And you can see that Anzalone's in man coverage against him. He follows him across the formation, explodes through the gap in the screen coverage, and just absolutely hammers him behind the line for a loss of 4 or 5. Like, that's the sort of recognition skills we thought he had before he came here. And he's finally starting to show it, which is absolutely fantastic. They end up punting. And, of course, Khalif Raymond does an exceptional move to make a man miss. He could have been hit as soon as he caught the ball. Instead, he manages to make him miss and gets 10 on the return. It doesn't look like much. It's only 10. But 10's a hell of a lot bigger than none. And then an incredible play by Amon-Ra Brown. His route running is exceptional. Again, this is only going to be a 10-yard play. But the way he makes his cornerback look stupid on his route running is just something beautiful to see. Now here's the non-call, as people in the chat have said, non-called on DPI for Chuck. Tyson Campbell barely gets his head around, arms all over Chuck. Like, Chuck can't even move his arms towards the ball before he's got there. It's an absolutely ridiculous non-call, but at this point, who cares? And then a great throw to Amon-Ra Brown on 3rd and 9 for the first. Swift then runs the ball well really late. Another play-action pass to Amon-Ra Brown on the far corner of the end zone for a touchdown. The PAT is good, and it's 40 to 14 Detroit. And CJ Beathard comes in to save Trevor Lawrence in the final drive. They go 4 and out, and victory formation. The sack for Aiden was just desserts for him. You know, I think Aiden had another really good game. When you're up against double and triple teams all day, if you can get a pressure here and there, and you're freeing up everyone else, I'd call it a good day. And then Alex Anzalone, and Ant, you said it on our Twitter earlier today, but quietly having a good year.
Oh, he's one of the best backers in the league statistically, yeah. I think it's is he the only guy with 150? I think it's the last guy, only guy like with 50 plus tackles. He had like a sack, an interception, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery like a few weeks ago. Like, he is statistically having the way. And I loved his 4 celebration when he brought down the hammer after a tackle for the loss. It looked super good. He's properly, I think he's found a home.
I mean, for me, like, tackle stats for linebackers are like the whole QB wins thing. I think linebackers always get the most tackles, so I think you have to look a bit deeper beyond that for the game. But look, I'll give it to him. He has been a lot better, especially over the last month during this resurgence in form for the team. I think him finally understanding his role, him sort of almost leading by example, has been really big for this team. And I was discussing it with someone earlier, and I think last year we all kind of agreed that Jamie Collins screwed the pooch with him earlier in the season, because Jamie Collins didn't give a crap, and Anzalone was doing 2 guys' work. And we all said last year he looked noticeably better when we scrapped Collins and we put Barnes in there and had other guys in instead. And then I think we expected to come into this season and see Alex be better a lot quicker. But what we didn't take into account was he's in a room full of rookies. There's no one really in there with him, apart from Board, who has done nothing and is slowly, his snap count's going, and he's going to be the next one out the door. They're all rookies. And I think it's a case of when you've got so many rookies in there, you're having to do so much work and you're trying to lead them, show them where they're all going, etc., etc. Despite how well Malcolm's doing, it's a lot of work to have on your plate and still be able to operate properly and play to a high level. But now I think that those linebackers have settled down. Malcolm Rodriguez looks a natural in there. Barnes is starting to perform better week on week. I think that's now almost unburdened Alex to be able to go out and play his own game first, while still being the leader on there. And it might be the first time since he's been in Detroit when he's not been burdened by anybody else, whether it be a shitty veteran who's in there with him or young rookies learning the game. And I think there's a correlation between it now. Now that you're trusting these young linebackers a lot more and they're playing well, Alex is free to do his own thing. And he's making plays, he's leading by example, and now people will rally round him and he will be the leader that we expected him to be on this defense. I know I was never high on him when I got here, and Matt was the one who was. And, you know, but you're starting to see what he said about him now. If the leadership is there and he's playing well, he can be a good linebacker. And we're seeing that from him. And like I said, I will hold my hands up. I did not see it coming after the start of this season. I thought it was kind of, well, here we go again. But this last month has proven me wrong, and I'm happy to say so.
Any final thoughts on the final touchdown for Detroit? Amon-Ra in the corner of the end zone, his second touchdown, that ties his game high for Detroit with 2.
It was really good for my fantasy team. I just picked him up in most leagues, and it's, yeah, stat padding at that point, but I don't care. Good stat padding. But no, guys in form. They did not stop. I was surprised when we got the touchdown at the end. I thought we kind of might just kill the clock and run the game out, but we didn't. We were playing like it was 0-0 and the game was on the line and that we needed a score to win the game, when in reality we're 30-odd points up. So, you like to see that attitude. Don't ever take your foot off the gas, especially when you're in front. That's how the killer teams are made. They never let go. And that attitude will seep through into other games now. When we're behind, we will keep fighting till the end, but we will keep playing with that same purpose. We didn't let up off the gas, and that was great to see.
Yeah, it was 4 full quarters in all 3 phases, and that's probably only been able to say that for 2 or 3 times in the last 2 years. It's refreshing, but we need to say that more often. Like I say, now they've raised the bar. Now they've got to keep up with that now. Like you say, I've got higher expectations now. I've seen what they can do for 4 quarters, what Jared Goff can do, what Ben Johnson can do, what Swift can do when he starts to get more touches than Williams. Like now, that going forward, I'm going to expect this level now the remaining weeks of the year. For me personally, the Lions, we're not making the playoffs. We're not going to win out, but also now it's not in our own hands, really. We're going to need a bit of help, and I just don't see us getting it. So, but also, I'm not bothered about the playoffs, really. We're not ready just there yet. Give me them next year. But like I say, between now, I want to see us win 3 or 4 more games, and I want to see 3 or 4 more performances like this. And then I'll be a very happy man. And then there'll be some very difficult decisions to make.
And this will be this was the big thing coming this season. We had a schedule where we're playing a lot of 4th place teams. We're playing a lot of teams who are on a similar timeline to us in terms of they're rebuilding. They don't have all their parts there. And, we wanted to see how we could stack up against them, see if this rebuild was legit or not, as it's, heading into its 2nd season, heading towards its 3rd. And I mean, we killed the Giants a few weeks back. They are on a similar sort of timeline to us, and they've had a lot of success this season as well. People said they were well ahead. We beat them. The Jags are on the same timeline as us, really. They have their quarterback, but I think we have more pieces of our team. And it was an interesting matchup in regards to this. And we've absolutely killed them. Shows that you don't need the superstar young quarterback on your roster at this moment in time. We went out and proved that we could do it. So these are all really positive signs going forward. No, 1-6, we were like, Christ, we need to start winning some of these because this season was here to afford us the opportunity to do so. But that's the good thing now. We are competing against teams who are on the similar trajectory to us, and we're better than them. So it gives you belief going forward that everybody is doing the right job. And I mean, this draft class is turning out to be a masterclass. Probably one of the best we've had this century in terms of what you're getting from people and the production you're getting. Now everyone's fit and ready to play. You are seeing some serious progress going forward. So yeah, that's all you can ask for at this moment in time. And I agree with Ryan. It doesn't matter if we reach the playoffs or not, but winning games, carrying on winning games is the priority. And the key thing this offseason, and he mentioned it as well, it's going to make it very tough because when you're winning games, it covers up cracks in teams. Your job is to know that those cracks are still there and sort them. And don't be like, this roster's fine. You've always got to look to improve your roster. I didn't talk about Will Harris earlier. He had one really good game, and I'll give him his props for that. But that doesn't forgive 2.5 years of utter dross. You can't get sucked into it just yet. It needs to be shown a lot more consistently and at a lot higher level before you start saying stuff like keep and stuff like that. And it's going to be the same with Goff. We're going to have the serious conversation about, is he the guy? How does this rebuild factor in? And that's going to be the key for them this offseason. But I'd rather have this problem than just lose and tear everything down.
Talking about this game, then, just rounding things off quite nicely for me, and I kind of alluded to it at the top of the show, but it's the most complete performance I can remember from a Detroit Lions team since I was a fan ever. I don't remember beating down on a team quite so convincingly, and it didn't feel unfair, and it didn't feel remotely lucky, and it was end to end. If there is one, I don't remember it. And people in the chat, when I said it earlier on, said, what about Arizona last year? And it's like, no, that felt like it was interception based. We won the turnover battle, and you know what? A bad team caught fire once, but there was nothing about this to me that felt lucky. Are you of the same mind to me, or can you remember any game that was kind of like this recently?
Trouble is with the Arizona game is they were a lot better at the time, I feel. I think the standard of opposition was better, so it's still a very impressive win. But I'm with you in terms of a complete game played by this team, offense, defense, special teams, completely and utterly annihilating an opposition. This is the better one. But that doesn't diminish the Cardinals one last year. That was still a major victory for us, and I still think like wins like that last season were building blocks to this season. You know, players know that they can go out there and perform dominantly against any level of team and win. So, but yeah, I agree. This one feels a bit more special. This feels like, you know, there's so many aspects outside of it to this. You know, we just lost to the Bills. You know, can we come back from that? You know, we've been threatening this. You know, the Giants, we could have blown them out by even more, in fairness. And this kind of feels like the Giants plus one in that we went another level further and really, really destroyed them.
I feel like the memorable wins in the last few years. I remember when we battered New England. That was a good win, and they were a good win. They were a good team at the time, and that was the team. That wasn't luck. Obviously, can we really say that the 31-0 win against the Packers, but it basically was third stringers because it was week 17. We still handled business, but one team just didn't really give a shit at the time. So I don't really.
I think the one that always stands out to me is the Philly one we won under Patricia. You know, when we won in Philly, I think we're on like a 3-game win streak at the time. I know it's Fat Matt and everything, but that was a really good win. That always sticks up there. But this feels even better than that as well.
Next observation, O-line seemed to have just a great game. The Lions didn't rush for a huge amount of yards, 100 total between everyone, but it wasn't a game where we attempted to run the ball very much because the pass game was so efficient. And Dan Campbell actually said that was a game plan, that they thought that that's how they could exploit the Jags. So in terms of putting the game plan out there against a team with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker out there, they pass blocked excellently. It felt there was a little bit of pressure on Goff sometimes on third down. He took a couple of sacks, had to chuck a ball away here or there, but Goff handled himself very well in those situations, and otherwise, Goff had all day to throw. Maybe our best performance of the year, pass blocking wise?
Oh, easily. Like I say, he was never in any danger. Trayvon Walker, completely nullified. Most underwhelming first overall pick I've seen for a number of years. I think he's got a really long way to come. And Josh Allen, people rave about Josh Allen. People are like, if we could pick a player off the Jags, I know a lot of people said Josh Allen. Like, I'm not that high on the guy. I know he was good drafted out, but he was kept incredibly well, quiet all day. And to say we had I don't even know his name. Is it Kwesi Adios? I can't even say the right guy's name. I don't know his. Like, the fact that he didn't have his name called all day tells me that business was handled. Like I say, as a pass blocking as a unit, they just formed a wall around Jared Goff all day and very little penetration.
Coyote Awosika, or Awosika, not sure how you pronounce it. It's Nigerian, I'm presuming, so I'm going to say Awosika, but I don't know. Anyway, and best pass blocking game of the year?
I think so. I mean, we gave up, 9 pressures on the day, only 2 quarterback hits. And, you know, this is a team that's got talent there. You know, I say Josh Allen's in there, Trayvon Walker's on there. You got a lot of really good blitzing linebackers who get after a quarterback. So, and, you know, 7 of those pressures were given up by Decker and Owasike. So 3 of them had a nigh-on flawless performance. I think Decker gave up 4 pressures. Owasike gave up 3. Outside of that, there were nothing. So, you know, it was really good. And I know this may sound harsh, but I'm glad Skip was not in. I said this the other week, but I think it's time we give the young guys a go before the end of the season and try and shore that right guard up position before we're done, so we don't have to spend a pick on it in the draft. So I'm glad that he is in there instead. And, you know, to be part of such a dominant performance gives me hope going forward. So let's see if he can replicate it next week against the Vikings, because that's going to be another team that's got a lot of potential on its defensive line and is going to be a very big test. So, but yeah, it was a very good performance, and Jared Goff flourished because of it. But I'm not going to take anything away from Goff. He made all the throws, short, intermediate, long. Goff had a very impressive day, and he scythed apart the Bills. He really had a great game against the Bills, and he's had a good follow-up game against the Jags. So, banging form at the minute. So if this O-line can carry on giving him time, Goff just feels like he will slice up anybody and everybody at this moment. And you've got to be looking at that Vikings defense going, there's opportunity to be had there, because it's all right, but it ain't great.
Vikings are trash. We'll get onto that later, though. Ryan, thoughts on Goff in this game?
Clinical. Looked like he was going for a stroll in the park. Just never pressured, like you say, only flushed out of the pocket like 3 times maximum. Very composed. Reads just gone. He managed to get through all his progressions. Like there was no mishaps either, no dodgy snaps, nothing like that. No handling issues. Best game as a Lion probably, statistically and on the eye test, passed all the tests. Definitely the starter. If there was any doubt before, which I don't think there was, he's absolutely the starter in 2023. I'm probably going to take a quarterback, but that's because I probably want them to learn from Jared Goff. But I think right now you've got to look at him and say that if the Lions cut ties with him, I feel like he'd feel really hard done by, maybe even a little betrayed. I feel like he would feel, I think it might crush him, to be honest.
And like I said, I don't think it sends a good message to the locker room. We're building this project based on that you come here, take your opportunity, and get rewarded because of it. And this is the real problem I have with this, because, like, say, from the second Goff arrived, I always felt Goff got really badly treated by the Rams, and no one wanted him here, and I felt awful for the situation he was in last year. It was a bad team. He was not put in a position to succeed, and I wanted nothing more for him to succeed here. And you see that in the second year now that he is starting to succeed. He looks a lot more comfortable. He is confident. He is playing well. But there's always that nagging feeling in the back of your head, because with a roster, you've always got to look forward for the next few years, and you've always got to carry on improving your roster with the end goal of the Super Bowl in mind. And it's trying to find the balance between giving him the opportunity and wanting him to succeed and him playing well here, and factoring in where does he fit in to the Super Bowl run, which we will want in a few years. So it's a very difficult spot to be in at this moment in time. Sorry, go on.
The NFC as well right now is a shit show. Jared Goff has got a fantastic chance to make the Pro Bowl, because there's a lot of guys that are going into playoffs that don't really think about it. I think Jared Goff's got a fantastic chance of making the Pro Bowl, or at least as an alternate.
The Lions in the last 4 or 5 games have a top 10 defense. Like, I firmly believe that. I'm sure the stats will probably back that up too, but they've gone from worst in the league to pretty damn good. And the offense, apart from a blip around the bye, have been consistently top 10. This is a team that, if you play the way you have been in the last 4 or 5 weeks all the way through a season, is absolutely in the mix. They are above where the Giants are right now. They're above where the Seahawks are right now. That is the level the Lions have been playing at the last 5 weeks. Now, is it enough to do it all the way down the stretch? Ryan has already said no, and he's not worried about it too much. But let's talk about the future briefly and how bright it is for Detroit. And just to highlight this, I've put 3 names down, and I've put down DeAndre Swift, DJ Chark, and Jameson Williams. 3 skill position players who, if they can get it right, get it going, and be battle-hardened and tested in the next 5 weeks, and it starts this Sunday, because if you don't win this Sunday, you're in big trouble for a playoff run. But if it all comes together, if you can nick it into that 7 seed, and you've got that array of talent on top of what you already had through this season, no one will want to face this team.
Oh, I agree. You know, it's like I said when I played the Bills. We're probably the last team they wanted to play against, and I reckon they'll have felt like that by the time they played us. I bet they'll be like, "Christ, I'm glad we don't have to go through that again anytime soon." But we're just a young team with nothing to lose, and that's the most dangerous type of team there is. You know, we've got lots of youngsters who know that there's no ceiling for them. They can carry on going, they can carry on performing, they can carry on putting out results. And yeah, that makes you utterly dangerous. Now, in terms of the long-term project, and this is where I'm trying to stay grounded here, teams we saw at the end of last season, we finished off in form, and then we started this one awfully. You know, last season is last season, so you've got to be careful how many positives you take out of the end of a season because, like I say, things change so drastically. We've got to be very careful that we stick to the plan, that we stick to the build, that we don't bring the wrong players back based on a few games, that we keep the right players based on what we need from them. And, you know, that's going to be critical for us this year. So we might be in a situation where we've won 8 or 9 games, and then the temptation is to bring everybody back and carry on hoping that your form's going to move on over to next year, but it's not. One, we're going to have a harder schedule next year because we might finish second or third, so your strength of schedule goes up. You've got to carry on progressing as a team. So I'm very happy right now. I'm very, very happy with this team, and I'm very happy with the player development. I'm very happy with the direction that it's going. But I'm not going to overreact in terms of next season and say that everything's going to be hunky-dory then. You've got to be really careful with it.
There's guys right now that need, if they have big 5 weeks, there's a chance they can come back. Guys right now that I'm not sold on returning are Josh Reynolds. I think for 2 years he's done his thing, but I am not committed to bringing him back. I know he'll have an extra year in his deal next year. I'm not seeing enough of him right now, and I feel like if Jameson is 100% good to go next year, I think we'll part ways with him. Like I say, he's missed like 10 games last year. He's missed half the season this year. Like, I don't want to be that guy, but like I say, best ability is availability, and he just doesn't offer it. DJ Chark right now, before injury, flash in a pan. I really need to see some consistent output before I even consider bringing him back next year. And if I do next year, it's not going to be anywhere near the 10 million it is right now. Probably half of it, unless he really does show some consistency in the next 4 or 5 weeks. If he goes out with another injury in his next 5 weeks and misses even one more game, I am done with him. I want to see him able to stay on the field.
And that's the danger there. Like I say, you know, it's very easy to fall in love with Jock because, you know, he's just had, you know, he's got the young kid here. He seems to really enjoy it. You've just had a really good game and he's got the match ball and everyone's embracing him. But you have to be careful about the future with it. You can't go off pure emotion like this. When the season's done, like Ryan said, the availability hasn't been there. The consistency hasn't been there yet. And you don't want to go parting with 10 million plus when you're not fully sure. So that's where you have to be very, very careful when this season is done. Doesn't mean we can't be happy for him now and what's going on. Of course, I'm delighted for him. With us with a good shark in this team are a much more dangerous side, and I want him to succeed. But we've just got to keep it tempered just for now because next year is critical for us, and we have to carry on making decisions not based on the heart, but what is best for this franchise going forward. And it's going to mean making some decisions we don't like. But again, I'd rather be in that position than as just cutting a load of scrubs who we know are useless.
Right, that's going to do it for the review of that game. But there's a few different questions from the chat that we're going to get to. And Ryan, because I know you have to get off, I'm going to actually focus on some college questions very quickly, because I know you said you wanted to go at 9:30, so I'm going to get them in quite quickly. Brandon Kerr asks, and it was addressed to Ant, but you're both the college guys, so it says, I know you both watched the college football and specifically the championship games over the weekend. What do you make of Max Duggan, the TCU quarterback? He's going to the playoffs.
He's reached his ceiling. Good dual threat guy, but he ain't the guy, and he's never going to be the guy. TCU are going to have their ass handed to them. They're going to get a participation award like Cincinnati did, and it's great for the Big 12. First team as well for Texas to ever make the playoff, but they're going to get royally spanked. And their defense is dreadful. So I'm happy for the Home Frogs. It's great for the playoff to see new sides, but it's good for Max Duggan, but draft-wise, stock-wise, it's hard to see him going before day 3, if he goes at all. So he's a nice project. He's a very comfortable guy that can carry out a playbook. You can give him 10 plays and he'll run them. And when shit breaks down, sometimes he's able to make something out of nothing. But he is not going to command an NFL offense, not within the first at least 3-4 years. But I like the kid, and he's got the right character. There's something about him. He's passionate as well.
And any more thoughts on Duggan?
Yeah, I felt good for them this past weekend. They've had such a good year.
They got robbed.
They got robbed by Big 12 officiating, and I'm fairly certain this had to do with playoff implications with this one. And it was really sad afterwards because he broke down in tears after this game. And I mean, it's like he's just taken them to the playoffs. That is a massive achievement, and he was still absolutely devastated he couldn't bring a Big 12 title. He's got the attitude that you want from him. Like Ryan said, the dual threat ability is there. There were a lot of questions about him coming into this season in terms of, can he throw a ball? Yes, he can. And he can throw a ball down well. And he's led a team that has been full of grit and heart and determination. They've worked themselves out of some really bad spots. There's been days when they've not played well and they've still eked out wins, and it's come to bite them at the end. But I know for a fact they will give 120% in the playoffs, and I know it's Michigan and they're going to be playing there, but they can give Michigan some issues. I'm not saying they can beat them, but I think they'll put up more of a fight than Cincinnati did last year, and he'll be part of that. I really like him as a kid and as a quarterback, and I think he needs to land in the right place, but he will get somewhere. And as for TCU, I've really liked them this year. They're a good side. They've got the trifecta threats there. I mean, he threw a really bad pick the other day, but they got the really good running back with Kendre Miller, who had a great day. Quentin Johnston had 140 yards on the day. Best X receiver in the draft, and I kind of still want him. I really kind of do. I know he fumbled one, but he had a massive day. So they've just got good skill position players. They've been a great team to watch this year, and I hope they give Michigan a good game in the playoffs.
Final college question, and then maybe Ryan will need to head off, I'm not sure. But Dan Pask asks, and it's draft related, but that's college. So what would you do with our first round picks? Position group or players is fine, Tar and Sia. So we're currently at 4th, and I'm not sure where our pick has moved to now, actually. Let's have
15.
Okay, so
4
4th
and 15.
15th. Where do you think we're going at this point?
Defensive line at 4. So we'll either take Will Anderson or Carter. Probably one of them's been taken by there, but I'll go defensive line first. At 15, very difficult to say. Big fan of Khalid Ringo, but maybe I don't want to reach too high for a cornerback if I don't need to. I wouldn't take a quarterback, but I can very much see it being quarterback. I can see Will Levis being there, and they're probably going to like a guy like him. Dare say if Anthony Richardson, I can see them taking Anthony Richardson between 15 and 20 if he has a fantastic combine and a good pro day, because they've both got mad physical traits and explosiveness, yet they've been inconsistent at the college level. So I'd say quarterback is definitely in play because they're both going to sit at least a year. But I also I said Quentin Johnston could be there at 15, but I don't feel like
I'm exactly.
I don't feel like I could take. I feel like receivers really not the biggest need. I feel like it could potentially be a massive mistake reaching that high. But yeah, I go defense first, potentially offense second.
So
ideally, I'd trade it. Ideally, I don't want to pick a 15 at all.
Yeah. I'd trade the high pick, to be fair. If Carter and Anderson are gone, I'd trade the high pick.
If they're gone, yeah.
I'd trade the high pick. But a few scenarios for me. What would I like us to do? I would like us to go defensive line, and then I would actually like us to go cornerback. I know Riz says, we don't need another one, etc. But you have to strike when the iron's hot for classes, and you can't just rely on Jerry Jacobs and Jeff Okudah being healthy every single game next season. The best teams have the best depth, and this is a draft which is rich in cornerback talent and some very high-level guys at the top. One who a lot of Lions fans will know because several of them play in the Big Ten as well. So I would still, Porter Jr., Witherspoon at this level, or if you want a slot corner, like he says, you could go Clark Phillips. You could get him. I just think there's things you could go there. So I would still go defensive tackle and corner. My guilty pleasure would be wide receiver. I would take Quentin Johnston at 15, and I will put him out there. Him, Amon-Ra, and Jameson Williams would be a cheat code trio there. What do I think the Lions would do now? This is where I'm interested. I think they might double down on their trenches again. I think they'll go defensive line early. And I have this sneaking gut suspicion that Osiris Torrance is high on their list. And I think they might fill that last guard spot because it's the last big question on our line. I think they'll double dip and they'll get the guard from Florida right now.
Fair enough. And if you want to hear more, we're obviously going to have a lot as the season ends and we build up to draft season, but the College Football Podcast is there for you to cover everything. And if you have any players that you want to be profiled, that you want to be covered, you've got to contact us. You can find us at all of our socials that I list at the end of the show, or our email address is available on our YouTube. You can hit our contact page up on our website. If you want some stuff doing, we can do it, so let us know. A couple of other questions just to finish up. One's a fairly slam dunk question. John Ball asks, can you see J-Mo, Clark and St. Brown on the field at the same time? It will happen next week. There's absolutely no doubt that those three are going to be on this field. Maybe in 11 personnel, but certainly in one personnel with just a running back on the field. That three will definitely either be part of a 3 or a 4. There's no doubt in my mind.
Could you imagine them three out there and having DeAndre Swift in the backfield? I mean, what the hell do you do as a defensive coordinator then? It's just like we've got these three big threats outside, but we've still got to cover the running back out the back. So you got to devote a linebacker or a cornerback or someone to him. So you can't guard everybody.
Final question is from Dan Pask, and he asks, how do you feel our second half adjustments have been going? I'm going to start this off by saying they were really bad. Really, really bad up until the Bills game. It was a constant source of frustration for us. And in the Bills game, they actually won the third quarter, I think. But regardless, Lions have turned it around with first half adjustments in the last 2 games for me. Now, 2 games is not a habit. Got to make it happen this coming Sunday and the Sunday after that. But I have seen the first signs of promising signs. What about the rest of you guys? Second half adjustments?
The third quarter has been the bad quarter for, I'd say, 60-70% of the year. Coming out of the half, those first drives are where we've thrown games away. Like we've lost the momentum, even if we've not deferred or we've got the ball. Like we've come out the half sometimes way too slow, and we've given up a cheap, easy score, and then that has kind of really put a rod for our backs. But in the last few weeks, it's much better. Yesterday, didn't need to make any. Yesterday, didn't need to make any second half adjustment at all because we were the ones totally in front. Like I say, the Bills, good. Like I say, came out the half when there was a chance that we could have potentially just lost their coattails a little bit, but we managed to hang in there. In the end, managed to make a really good game of it. Came close, had a really good shot at winning it, and I never would have thought that. But I want to see more. I'm not sure, like, if I could put a figure on it, but it's just like since Aubrey Pleasant was fired, a lot of things look and feel different. And I can't say what's playing the players. I can't say what's coaching him going. I couldn't really put a percentage on it of how I feel his firing has had an effect, but it can't be ignored. Like I say, it feels like there was maybe one too many cooks in the kitchen, and now Aaron Glenn is actually really just kind of like gone back to basics, especially like mixing up the zone and the man. With the third quarters and second halves defensively have been much better.
I'll talk about Pleasant in a minute, but I mean, adjustment-wise, yeah, we've been a lot better. But I think that is one of the pitfalls of having a very young team in the NFL. I think that, it works at its best when it has momentum and when you sort of have the flow of the game on your side. It's very hard to come out after the half and just pick that back up again as a young team. When you're sort of a really established team full of veterans, you come out, you know what the assignment is, you go straight into that sort of mode and you work the game as it is. Whereas I think with our guys, like I say, they're very young, they're naive in some areas of the game, and I think it's very difficult to just come out and pick up a tempo that you've had in the first half of a game and keep going. So, yeah, I kind of think it's just part and parcel of it, really. But like I say, it's nice to see them starting to get to the point now where they are adjusting to games, where they're figuring out the management of things a little bit better. And again, it's one of the things that takes time with a young side and a young coaching staff. Let's not forget, this is still a coaching staff, still not 2 seasons battle hardened yet. They're still trying to figure out things as well. And it just seems that they're all sort of on a path now where they're in lockstep together. The coaches are gradually getting better. The players are gradually getting better. The overall game situations are getting steadily better. And it seems just like they're all on the same page at this moment in time. So that's great. And, we haven't talked about Campbell much, and everyone hammered him when he let Aubrey Pleasant go and that. But there's a bare fact out there on the table at this moment in time. Dan Campbell has fired 2 of his staff so far. He fired Anthony Lynn last year. The offense got markedly better very quickly under a young, talented guy who has revolutionized the area that he was in. And then he's fired Aubrey Pleasant, one of the coaches responsible for one of the worst parts of this team. Like we always forget, it wasn't just the DBs he was in charge of. He was pass game coordinator as well. And we couldn't stop even the most bog standard of quarterbacks passing on us to save our lives. And what has happened since he has gone? One, the DBs look like they're playing with more freedom. They look like they're playing with more confidence. And they look like they're playing with a lot more discipline. Like I said, no flags yesterday, no holding calls, no false starts, no anything like this. And the communication is there. We're getting less busted coverages. All these little things that you need to go well. Like I said, you're not the most quality team, be the most disciplined and well-trained. And they look a lot more well-trained now. Something obviously wasn't working there. And I think for me, Glenn is a DB. I feel like he needs to be in ultimate charge of his DBs because that's where he's got the experience as a player and where he can be at his best. But Pleasant was also a DB as a player. So you kind of can see where the conflict can come there. But Dan Campbell has made 2 coaching changes and 2 noticeable improvements in those areas of the team have come in regards to that. Dan Campbell knows where the problems are and he knows what needs to be done. And Dan Campbell needs to be applauded for that because everyone, when Pleasant was leaving, he's going to be a head coach somewhere else. He's going to be a DC somewhere else. We're going to regret this. This is going to be a terrible move. The usual suspects, but you know what I mean. All coming out with all that crap. Well, our team looks a damn sight better without him, and Dan Campbell seems to have got it figured out. He is still learning himself, but he knows where the deficiencies in this team are and where the changes need to be made. These aren't rash firings based on nothing. Everyone called Pleasant a scapegoat. Well, I'm starting to think he's a prime suspect, not a scapegoat. And the same with Lynn, prime suspect, not a scapegoat. Doesn't matter whether you're the actual coordinator or you're a positional group you're a positional group guy. He will root out the problem and he will solve it. And I think Campbell deserves hella credit for that.
At the end of the day, the head coach leads the training. He is the guy who signs off on the playbooks. But at the end of the day, unless they're calling the offense or the defense, it's their coordinators who are making the calls on game day, which means that you have to get those hires correct. He's got the defensive coordinator, for me, correct. I was not down on Aaron Glenn when people were calling for his head earlier on in this season. It just seemed far too reactionary, and I'm hoping that I've been proved right on that aspect of things. Offensive coordinator, people seem to be convinced that Ben Johnson is going to get a head coaching gig this offseason. Now, anyone who does is too short-termist in terms of memory. Now, he might get an interview. Because lots of people get interviews, and he's a young offensive coordinator who is being regarded well in the national media. A head coaching call for an interview will not surprise me. But anyone who thinks that someone in their first try as an OC after one full year is going to get a shot is dreaming for me. Especially when you see what's happening with Brandon Staley at the Chargers. Like, he's in trouble. Staley's in big trouble at the Chargers because they're being viewed as having all the talent in the world and not getting it over the line, and they're throwing it at his feet. And people have to start becoming wary of first-time head coaches who've only had 1 year as a coordinator, because it doesn't work.
See, I agree with you here, and this is kind of the point I was trying to put across earlier, though you may have done it more succinctly. Right now, the expectations this team has now are completely different to the expectations you're going to have when your fan base and your owners expect playoffs, and you need to get there. Right now, this team, as I've said repeatedly, can play with freedom. Why? I mean, one, because we're not really threatening the playoffs at the minute, but two, we're young. The expectation for a playoff push is not there. You can kind of be a lot more free in what you do, but there is going to come a time when Ben Johnson is in a situation where a game is on a line, or he's going to come into a game with real world stakes on the table. Whether it be, a vital game in division, whether it be potentially to get into a berth for the playoffs. And that is a whole different kettle of fish to what he's going through as a coordinator now. If you want to be the best, coordinator and you want to get a head coaching job, you have to be able to work in all environments. And we have seen him in one environment so far this season. Now, I'm not denigrating any of the work he's done at all. I think he's done a fantastic job, and I think he's worthy of all the praise that he gets. All I'm saying is there is going to come a day when expectations here are different, and when the pressure level is going to be a hella lot different, and that there will prove whether he's a head coach in waiting or not. Not right now on a team where there's no pressure for him to go out there and win.
Absolutely. I think that at least on the recorded section of the show, we might draw it to a close unless there's anything you want to add, or we can take it just to the live audience. What do you think?
I don't know. I just really double down on the Campbell stuff. I think we need to give him more praise. I mean, a month ago, I'm pretty sure I can go back, even when we were 1-6 and we were doing badly, we still backed him. I mean, obviously, there's a part there where you're like, is this really going to work? And everyone's going, oh, he's won 3 games in however long, and look what the guys this year have done. But look at what he's done to this team. It was always going to be a slow build, this was. You saw the culture implemented last year, which is great. It's what you want in year one. And we said our goals, at least I'm pretty sure me and you were aligned on this, you've got to start learning to win games this year. You've got to start learning to show that you can implement more than just a culture. You can implement a winning culture. And, you see the locker room videos yesterday, and does this team not look 100% different to what it did last year in terms of it just seems to really believe in itself. It's tight-knit. It is well bonded. And that is all on Dan Campbell. He has got the buy-in from his players, and his staff have as well, and to the point where they really believe in themselves, and they're winning games. And is this not what we wanted from Dan Campbell in year 2 of his tenure?
Yeah.
I mean, is there anything else? Is Is there any aspects of you're disappointed by at this point now? I mean, lots of people are still going after him. Oh, he's a meathead. Oh, is this? But I think his in-game adjustments are getting better. I think we've seen from his 2 coaching firings that he's got a handle on his team and he knows where the issues are. The players are bought in. They're learning to win games. They're playing for him and him for them. I do feel like he's exactly where we should expect him to be right now.
Yeah, 100%. And the biggest stick that people will beat Dan Campbell with is clock management in key situations is awful. But the people that that subset of Lions fans are clamoring for to potentially replace him is Jim fucking Caldwell, who had the worst clock management of any Lions head coach in history. Like, and it wasn't close. Like, yeah,
even Patricia controlled the clock better.
Yeah, 100%, because he didn't have the ball. But
well.
but the thing about Dan is that he doesn't pretend that he isn't a work in progress and that he isn't a finished product. He will tell you himself he's got to get better every single day, and not in the Matt Patricia way. We've just got to coach better. We've just got to do better. No, Dan lives and breathes that mentality. And the thing is, when he sees something wrong with himself or his team, I believe 100% he's going to work to fix it as hard as he possibly can. He will embrace new ways of doing things.
He takes accountability.
He takes accountability, but more than that, in terms of advanced metrics and all that sort of stuff, he's perfectly willing to embrace that sort of thing. He's willing to embrace his gut when he feels like it gives him an advantage, and I don't mind that too. Like, he lives and dies by his decisions, and you know what? After the game's over, and they say, what about this decision? Why did he make it? And he'll go, well, I thought it was best at the time, but actually, in hindsight, I was wrong. Like, how often do you hear a head coach actually take responsibility? Did you hear Zach Wilson in his press conference after his final game as the Jets starting quarterback? He said, none of the problems are my fault. I know he's a quarterback, but it's how wrong people can get it in front of the podium. Like, it's so underrated how important that aspect of being a head coach is in terms of the public-facing image of himself. Like, Campbell is everything I want in a head coach, really.
And I think, it trickles down to the team. Because do you remember after the Seahawks game, they showed you the little still of Goff on the sideline apologizing to Ben Johnson. And it's like, man, you've just put up 45 points. You should not take accountability in that situation. That is not your fault. But Goff still felt like it was on him and took accountability for it. No quarterback should have to take accountability for a game when his team's put up 45 points, unless his running back's gone for like 300 yards and 6 touchdowns, in which case, he probably shouldn't be. But you get the gist. That sort of accountability moves down to the team. And you feel like because of that, you've seen Goff recently. He has taken control of games. He has shown the authority that we've so badly lacked for some time, that we've wanted to see from him. So you kind of feel like Campbell's mentality trickles down, and that's a good thing. This era of accountability that Matt Patricia never had. I don't think he ever took accountability for one thing in his life, did he? But I mean,
that's not a serious question, is it?
No, it's a low-hanging fruit one, but, sometimes you need them. But, that's why I started getting so angry at the performances 4 or 5 weeks ago. And why I was in a really bad place at the time, because I want Campbell to succeed. Because I genuinely think he is the right guy and could do it. And when, it's the worst feeling in the world when you've got a head coach who you want to succeed. We didn't have that with Matt. With Dan, you do, but this is why you get angry. But you're starting to see the sort of flip side now of just riding out the storm a little bit. He made mistakes. Yes, he admitted to making mistakes, but you are seeing him grow in lockstep with his team. Every single one of those players and coaching staff take accountability for themselves, and you're now seeing that pay off because they're learning from their mistakes. When they didn't have to admit accountability for things, they did, and they look better because of it now. And ain't no one going round like taking the mick out of Campbell anymore. In fact, a lot of notable people are staying very damn quiet about Dan Campbell because he's cashing in a lot of receipts that people put on him. I know he said during his interview today that he's been listening to it. He's been hearing it from fans here as well as media and that. And he's stayed the course. And we need to do this as the Detroit Lions in this rebuild. We need to stay this course. It's the same thing with Brad Holmes. Everyone ragged on Brad Holmes, the injuries and stuff, and I did. But with the Jared Goff trade, it was always going to take time for us to get our side of the bargain. Always was. It was an instant win thing for the Rams, long-term win for us. And look at us. Look how well we're doing. Going to get a top draft pick. Got J-Mo last year. I feel like, this is why you need to give them a few seasons. This is why you can't overreact too much, because it was always going to be a long-term thing. And both of them are been justified now. They've been vindicated.
They have. They really, really have. Right, I think we're going to take this one off the air. If you're on the live chat on YouTube or Twitch, hang tight while I sign off here. Our next show is going to be the Vikings preview show. Now, the date for that is up in the air. It could be Wednesday evening, could be Thursday evening. Not quite sure yet. We will let you know in due course. May have a guest for that one. That's why. So we shall see. College podcast probably going to be on Wednesday as well. And remind me what you're talking about.
So it was championship game week this weekend just gone. I went 8-2 on my predictions, so I'll be very happy with that. We'll review those games. Maybe have a little look ahead to the college football playoffs, but they're not for ages yet. So we'll get there. And then we're doing sort of a little bit of an overview of the season through the conferences, and I have some player reviews to do. Got about 4, so join in. It will be great fun. And of course, there's transfer portal's going crazy, quarterbacks going everywhere, people declaring for the draft. There will be a lot for us to talk about.
There will be. Don't forget to follow us on our socials on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can find us by searching Raw of the Lions UK, and the Facebook group, unaffiliated, but we're all there, and it's for worldwide fans. You'll see lots of stuff from tailgates and what have you. It's called Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. And the website where you'll find Ash's preview articles, ROTL.UK.com. We're going to be publishing a load of draft content there as well during the off-season. Do sign up to our mailing list there. Please don't forget to subscribe and rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider. Do hit the like button on YouTube. Leave your comments down below. All of that good stuff. Just remains for me to thank my co-hosts Ryan and Ant. And to all of you, thank you very much indeed for being with us. We'll see you next time on the Roar of the Lions UK podcast. Let's go, Lions One Pride!
Packers still own the Bears.
Recording stopped.
Dull. Right, I'm going to head off for 5 minutes just for a quick break. Do you want to hang about and chat?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, I'll see you in a sec.
I'm sure the people can hang with me for 5 minutes while you're gone, so. Hey! No, well, you're all doing well. If you got any questions, you want to drop them in the comments, whatever, put them in. I'll have a chat with you for a few minutes until Matt comes back. Thank you to everyone who has joined us. As Johnny says, great show as always. Thank you very much. James Burgess says, good evening, gents. Good evening to you, sir, as well. Faith has been rewarded. Yes, it is, Joseph. This was always going to be a long process, and while I can be guilty as anybody as getting emotional about the situation and everything in there, it's only because I care and only because I want this team to do well. Dan also says, thanks, guys. Great show. Appreciate it, Dan. Thank you for joining us as always. You are the ultimate super fan for these, and we really appreciate you choosing us as one of your many podcasts to listen to. Oh, we've got the Anthony Richardson stuff again. Anthony Richardson worth a second. Yes, he could very well be worth a second round pick. Anthony Richardson could. The problem I have, watching a lot of college football, I like my quarterbacks to do well in college football before they come up to the NFL, because I don't just like picking intangibles going forward. I mean, you look at Trey Lance last year, and I know he played, but he was in the FCS, not in the FBS. Very rare an FCS quarterback comes up and is an immediate starter in the NFL. And the 49ers are talking about re-signing Jimmy back next season. I don't know what happens with a broken ankle now, but, I like to see a guy who has done it before. It's like Cameron Ward's coming out this year. He was in the FCS. He came up. He's played for Washington State for a season. Looks damn good. I will spend a pick on him this year. Anthony Richardson has not shown it at the college level so far. And Brandon says, I know you're not too fond of the Florida quarterback. It's not that. I see the intangibles. I see the game. He is possibly a legit dual threat quarterback at the NFL level, but I need to see it in college first. I don't pick on intangibles. I pick on your form, and he has not been good this year. He's just like Will Levis. And I was the biggest Will Levis fan before this season started. Will Levis has been awful this season. That Kentucky side has been awful. And it starts with his leadership ability on the field. He has been bad, and I am right off him now. It's not just Richardson this is to do with. I like to see my quarterbacks do well in college first, and I think Richardson needed another year just to hone his game. And I know people say NFL staff will develop his traits quicker, but personally, I like to see it at the college level first. So he may well be worth a second-round pick. He could be the next legit dual-threat quarterback at the NFL level. And if you're getting him for a second-round pick, you're getting one of the biggest steals of all time. But I don't see it. Personally, I just don't see it right now. So we'll see. The Lions are watching Florida a lot. They've been 6 times this year. Obviously, Ventrell Miller's there and Osiris Torrance are there, but you don't go to watch a guard or a linebacker 6 times in a college football season, really. You're going to see the quarterback, so there is some interest in there. Brandon goes, who are you fond of that Detroit can get if you want? I mean, I don't know right now. I was a massive KJ Jefferson fan. He's going back to Arkansas next season. He is not declaring, so I've got to wait and see who declares first. I mean, Penix is going back to college. Sam Hartman's going back to college. I don't know who is. I don't know who's up there. Joseph says, and Aiden O'Connell looked good against Michigan. Worth a look. Yes. Called Aiden O'Connell the second best quarterback in the Big Ten at the start of the season. I still genuinely believe that. I think only CJ Stroud is better. He did look very good against Michigan. Just those little mistakes he sometimes has in, but he's worth a look. He is a 6th-year senior though, so age is not on his side, but certainly worth a look at if he's there. But I've got to wait and see who declares out the quarterbacks now, because it's a volatile class. Had the potential to be really good, but a lot of guys have been bad this year. So we will have a see with it. But I'm not on the Richardson train there. But yeah, he has declared, and he's going to be a very interesting case in the draft as to just how high someone is willing to go on intangibles alone, because he ain't got the tape to back it up. Here's Johnny earlier said, if Ben Johnson leaves, who will be the Lions OC? Oh, Matt's back. Do you want to answer that one, Matt? Who would be OC if Ben Johnson theoretically left for another job? Is he on staff currently, or is there someone who you would rather have other than him outside the Lions?
I don't know. Let me give that a think for just a few minutes. I really don't know.
Oh, I missed the one from Dan in Twitch. He says, what was your favorite play yesterday? And Jared Goff breaking Trayvon Walker's ankles. That was my favorite play by far. Trayvon came through like a bull charging at the red sheet, and Goff just span out and looked. Isn't it weird? I mean, I know you. How good has Jared Goff looked against pressure this last 6 weeks?
He's looked very good against pressure.
It's eerie, isn't it? It's like weird. He's just. It's like something
flicked, yeah.
A switch has flicked, and he's gone from being awful against pressure to now he seems. Is it just confidence? Do you reckon? Do you reckon he feels that confidence that he can escape the pocket now and not screw it up?
Yeah. I
feel like it's that.
I think it is just confidence.
But yeah, Trayvon Walker getting sent to the next dimension by Goff was my favorite play yesterday, and I'm not sorry for that.
Favorite play was Amon-Ra making someone look a fool. It was only in the Lions' half. It only gained 10 yards, but the precision of the route running was exceptional. I might need to find the timestamp so people can see it, but it was something very special. It's not going to pique most people's interest, but it was great. So
in fairness, didn't Etienne do it to one of our guys? I remember one of our guys like flying 10 foot through the air from a missed tackle.
Yeah.
Who had 2 missed tackles yesterday? we had 3 missed tackles all day. One player had 2 of them. I think it was, oh God, who was it now? It may have been Kirby. Was it Kirby? Anyhow, this Lions player just went flying past him about 10 yards. It was hilarious.
Yes, so in terms of OC, let's have a look at the staff. So at the moment, you've got Mark Brunel, quarterbacks coach. You've got Tanner Engstrand, tight ends coach, pass game coordinator. You've got Antoine Randowell, wide receivers coach. And you've got Hank Fraley, O-lines coach. Those are the major offensive coaches. I don't see Fraley as anything more than O-lines coach. I just don't think that is something that he wants. And I think he'd be
I can see the game plan now. Run, 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 run.
Yeah.
That would be Hank.
It's not going to be great. Randall L., I don't know. Because he was a wide receiver who's coached wide receivers. I'm not sure that he has much of a repertoire elsewhere. If you're going to become OC, I'd like you to... I think he was a college quarterback, so that might stand him in good stead, but I want you to be a little bit more widely versed if you're going to step into OC, so I don't see it being him. Tanner Engstrand is an interesting one, because the tight ends have not been excellent so far, but the game plan isn't his responsibility. You know, he isn't the one drawing up the scheme. And what they said about Ben Johnson is what they say about Tanner Engstrand.
I was about to say, am I making it up that they said he was some sort of genius?
Yeah,
like
so,
in his mold. I feel like that was the...
Absolutely. If it's going to be anyone...
I'm not making that up, am I?
No, you're not making it up. I don't think it's in Brunel's repertoire. He was coaching high schoolers before he came here. Like, Brunel might be the guy most likely to get a gig soonest at OC, but it ain't going to be here yet. I think that Engstrand, not this off-season, but you give it one more year, I think he'd be in with a shot of being maybe an interim guy with a chance to make it. But
he's following the Ben Johnson path.
He is. He absolutely is.
And you know what? Speaking of Brunel, I probably owe him an apology as well, because I've given him a lot of crap for what he does for quarterbacks. But with how Jared Goff has been looking recently, Brunel needs to take a lot of credit for that. His confidence seems to be here and not going anywhere. So Brunel's doing something right with him. So that's probably another tiny piece of humble pie I need to nibble on today.
You've done a bit of that already.
Yeah, well, like I say, I am not afraid to admit when I'm wrong about somebody. A player, a coach, I am not afraid to admit it. There are a lot of people, a lot of content creators who don't. They just forget it happened, like it never was there. Thinking of a few right now who do that quite a lot, but I'm never going to be one of those guys. I will always account for my opinions, because they are always done based on the most research I can do. Sometimes they're wrong.
Yeah, and I think the next someone that I want people to start eating their words about is Will Harris.
No.
Sorry.
Me and you could get into a boxing match on this one, I reckon.
Maybe. The thing is, if Will Harris continues to play like he did last weekend, which, according to PFF, was his 3rd best game this year, only 3rd, and he was exceptional yesterday. If he continues to play at that sort of level down the stretch, he's at risk of getting re-signed. He really, really is. Like, they already...
And you used the word there, risk. It's damn well risky for this team to re-sign him.
Not a vet minimum, it isn't. There are
really? If he's playing as lights out as you say it is he going to accept vet minimum? No.
The way he's played in his career, he'll be grateful for a contract.
This is the problem. I admit, I actually enjoyed, like you did, watching Will Harris play yesterday. The week before, I could have throttled him. And for pretty much his entire 2.5-year stint here so far, I could have throttled him. So 2.5 years worth of throttling over one good day, I ain't going to start. This is where my overreaction, I'm not overreacting yet. It would be a thing to say, oh, Will Harris is a player now. Let's just keep him on the team. That's one less spot we've got to fill. False. Incorrect. You've got to keep getting better. and we can do better. And I know the staff love him, but he's going to have 5 more lights out games for me to consider long term with him.
I'm not even saying long term as a starter. I'm saying he is one of the best cornerback 4s or 5s in the NFL right now. If you re-sign him at vet minimum and he is your 3rd guy off the bench on the outside or in the slot,
Doesn't he still have a year on his rookie deal?
No.
Do we have to give him a deal this year?
We have to give him a deal this year.
Oh.
So I think it's a difficult decision because at $900,000 or whatever it is, you have a look at slot cornerbacks we've signed as backups for that sort of money in the past. Most of them haven't even made the main roster. Like, he is good enough to make a main roster. He's not good enough to start, but he's a good
I think you just
backup.
draft the slot cornerback.
Maybe, but then have him as the veteran behind him at 900,000. Why not?
If you're saying 900,000 and you can guarantee that, I know you can't, but theoretically, if he's on the basis minimum and he's so far down the depth chart that I never have to hear his name, that's fine. Outside of that, no.
All right. I'm just saying that that's the next name on my list of apologies.
I will never apologize. There are some things that even I will not apologize for.
Timestamping it.
I will never, ever apologize for this one. I will sooner apologize to Patricia before I do to Will Harris. So there you go.
Oh, jeez.
That's the one there.
I don't hate Will Harris. I hate Matt Patricia. Will Harris, I see all the effort in the world and sometimes just a lack of ability, whereas Matt Patricia had all the ability in the world and was a complete sycophant, a dickhead, and he should have been run out of this city.
Yeah, that's true. But you know what, Matt? If me and you had egos and we were going back cashing in receipts, I think me and you would both very gleefully be cashing in the Jelani Tavai receipt right now. The Patriots have made him into a decent linebacker. Me and you said there was a decent linebacker in Jelani Tavai, and we got crucified for it week after week after week by everyone on the panel and the few people who listened to us back then when we were going. But I feel like we're justified on that one, but because we don't have egos, we won't recash that receipt there. But I am happy to see Jelani Tavai playing well there. I think he was a victim of Bob Quinn being ass at drafting and Matt Patricia being ass at developing players. And as a result, he got clustered because of that.
Yeah.
And I am glad to see that he is carving out a niche somewhere. I hold no ill will towards Jelani at all. But yeah, that's a Patricia and Quinn thing. I mean, how many of their draft picks have we got left?
Very few. Thing is, you see Kirby playing the way he does, James Houston playing the way he does. It's going to... It's leading the way for everyone else. It's going to set the example. It's going to inspire the UDFAs, the late round draft picks, to believe that this team believes in them. Like, it should get the best out of everyone. It may not rub off on everyone, 100%. Other people will prefer the stick rather than the carrot. But this team is just playing so much bigger than itself. It's so refreshing.
Exactly. It definitely is. And appreciate your fly out condom. Props to Ant for keeping up the bling. I will wear this every week we win. I might even try and get some more bling for myself as well. I saw some comments somewhere. Bill Collier goes, Ant, do you really think we can stop the Vikings offense? In fact, before we talk about this, I saw your comment in the Discord chat about the Vikings being the biggest frauds in the NFL, and I would like to raise you the Tennessee Titans.
Disagree.
Tennessee Titans are the biggest frauds.
Disagree. Wrong. Incorrect. The Tennessee Titans are actually...
Are the biggest frauds in the NFL.
Tennessee Titans...
Are the biggest frauds in the NFL. Two can play this game.
Yeah, true. The Titans actually lose games.
Yeah, but everyone lords over them like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I don't feel like Minnesota get the same sort of love that the Titans do. Titans are big ass frauds. They really are. But to the point, can we stop the Vikings offense? I think we can. The defense at the minute, we are getting takeaways, not just on the ground, but through the air. So obviously Dalvin Cook has caused us problems for years, but we're forcing fumbles. We're getting picks in the air. So our defense is working on all facets at the minute. We could force Cook into making a mistake, and I'd be wrong, but when we beat them, oh no, he wasn't playing when we beat them last year, was he? It was Matheson. But we still forced Matheson into errors when we beaten them last year. Cousins we've traditionally struggled against, but I feel like our pass rush is now to the point where we're going to cause him problems. I mean, 'cause for years we couldn't get to Aaron Rodgers, and we did this year. So I genuinely think we can stop them. Obviously, Jefferson's a freak of nature, but you just kind of do what you did with the Jags, control the clock. I mean, what did you say? We had 15 minutes more than the Jags, was
13 and a half.
13. So kill the clock, take the run game from them. You know, Vikings become an average side. And we should have beaten them earlier this season. We gave that game away
Never
because
mind
we couldn't.
beating them. We were
we couldn't-
absolutely destroying them.
We couldn't sustain a drive in the last 10 minutes of that game. If we could have sustained one drive and killed 3 or 4 minutes of the clock, they were dead in the water. So we've shown that we can deal with them. That was with an injury-plagued team at the start of the season. We're a lot healthier now, and we have won 4 out of 5, so the confidence is flowing. I think this defense has nothing to fear, and we're now discovering that these middling quarterbacks who we've suffered against from the years are exactly that. They're middling quarterbacks when coming up against a confident defense, and I am confident that we can make plays against them. I think we can pick Kirk Cousins off multiple times. I think we can sack him in this one. I think we can stop Dalvin Cook from running all over us like he does because the defense is healthy and playing well. So I 100% think we can deal with these guys.
Looking at the Vikings and what they've done this year, they lost to Philadelphia in week 2. They should have lost to Detroit in week 3. They could have and probably should have lost to New Orleans in London in week 4. They could have lost to Chicago in week 5. They beat Miami, and I think they beat Miami in week 6 in a game that maybe they could have lost, but never mind. They should have lost to Washington in week 9. They should have lost to Buffalo in week 10. They got blown out by Dallas by 37 points in week 11. They were in a gritty game against New England. They should have lost yesterday against the Jets. This is not a team that's good. Like, you have a look down that list, and at those teams, they should have lost to Detroit when they were playing not great. They should have lost to New Orleans, who are awful. They should have lost to Chicago, who are awful. They were run close by Arizona. They just beat Washington, who at the time were up and coming, but were still bad. Buffalo was a fluke. Dallas showed us who they are by beating down on them like they did, because Dallas aren't that good either.
The second biggest, they showed us that the Vikings are the second biggest set of frauds in the NFL after the Titans.
Yeah, right. Well,
And you know what? I think the Cowboys are part legit this year.
They're part.
I don't think they're frauds. I don't think they're frauds. They're not frauds like the Ravens, because I think the Ravens are frauds as well.
So can I say that the Cowboys are overrated and they're still the second best team in the conference?
Yes. Oh, I agree with that. I just don't think they're in fraud territory. I do think there is a bit of a legitimateness about them this year, but Titans have no legitimacy, and for me, the Ravens have no legitimacy. I think they're both fraudulent. I think there are very few actual legit teams this year, and I still can't call the Super Bowl. I don't have a Scooby. I mean, I don't even think the Eagles look good at the minute. I think they're still good, but I see fallibilities in that team. I don't see, at least you get one team a year and you think they're a cast iron Super Bowl lot, don't you? I don't see a cast iron Super Bowl lot this year unless you do.
Nope. AFC has too many really good teams. There's three that could make it. The Bengals, the Chiefs, the Bills. Those are my 3, and Miami could be well up there too. With Tua playing the way he is, and with Waddle and Hill there, they are going to ruin some teams and make them look bad. Those four are really, really good. And then in the NFC,
Sorry, go on.
Just on the NFC side, no one's good. The Eagles could be beaten by anyone just because they're beating down on teams. I think they're vulnerable in a one-off game. Like, over the course of a season, they're a lock to make the playoffs, and they should be near a lock for the 1 seed. But I don't fancy them to make the Super Bowl.
No. I'm just saying, though, what do the Bengals have on the Chiefs?
I don't know what it is, but it's something.
There's something that they have some form of kryptonite in there that just, I don't know. But weirdly enough, as we've never really talked about the Bengals this year as been a good team in the FC, but I think sneakily they are legit again. Everyone said they might have fell off because they didn't start the season so hot, but I think the Bengals are sneaky legit. I do.
They're gonna win the North.
Yeah.
Because,
I mean, it's not exactly a high measuring stick.
No,
at the
it wasn't. But now Lamar's out and done, probably. Like, the Ravens have got no shot. Pittsburgh are going to be sub 500, probably.
Yeah.
And who else is in the North?
Browns.
Browns. And, well, we know what the Browns are this year.
He who must not be named didn't have a very good return game, did he?
No, he did not. I need to shoot off, but very briefly on Monday Night Football, what have we got? We've got New Orleans and Tampa Bay in the shit off.
I want Tampa to win. I hate New Orleans. I just hate the way they screw the cap round every year, and I'm delighted that they're getting down to the salary cap level is their new Super Bowl, because that's all they harp on about every year. They lose so much established talent every year because they can't afford to pay it, and they're like, oh, but we're guru geniuses. But it's like, well, you're not even making the playoffs at the minute, guys. You're useless. You're bad. You don't have a quarterback. You've got no draft picks. You're pretty awful. They're tanking for the Eagles this year. So, the Eagles are like us. Eagles must be in dreamland. They're like, oh, we can be an amazing team. We're still probably going to get a top 10 pick off of the Saints. I think Saints are frauds. I don't like the Bucks, but I just like to see the Saints lose. So, yeah. I know we got asked a question quickly about Donovan Edwards, but you love him, so you want to quickly take that before we go?
He's the better of the two backs in Michigan. He is a bit more instinctive. Corum is more considerate. He's a bit more of the Alvin Kamara of the two in terms of he's just patient and he hits his gap, and he does it very, very well. Corum has got a good future as an NFL back, but Edwards has home run speed. He sees the gap and he hits it with ferocity. He, I think, could be a good pass catcher out the backfield, but I don't think he gets used very often in that capacity. I know he's more of the third down.
Michigan don't do that.
Yeah, they don't. But I think his ceiling there could be very, very good. So I think there's more to his frame than being a scat back. He's big enough that he doesn't have to be that guy. But I don't think he's a 3-down backer either. So I think his range is limited. I think he's probably his ceiling is probably a middle second round pick in 2024. But at the moment, I reckon he's probably a late day 2 pick in next year's draft, if he declares, because he's only a sophomore, I think.
Yes, he is. So, yeah, he hates Blake Corum, not me.
When did I say hate Blake Corum?
I am not in the good graces of Wolverines fans, so I have to defend myself against things. I cannot be associated with any slanderous comments against Blake Corum. A lot of Michigan fans will consider that slander with Corum up for the Heisman, but they're both back again next year.
But I didn't say that Corum doesn't deserve the Heisman. Corum deserves the Heisman a lot more than a lot of quarterbacks that are up there. He deserves it.
Put it this way. Yeah. If the Wolverines snag Braylon Allen out of the transfer portal, then it's over for the Big Ten next year. Those three at running back will kill everybody. Literally kill people. Literally. It's scary that they're in for him with Corum coming back. I wouldn't put not many teams will be able to deal with them next season if they've got them three in the backfield. It would be scary.
Right. I need to shoot, so I'm going to go so I can edit this mother and get it up before the end of the evening. And my thanks to you for sticking around for the after the show and the before the show. And your company, as always, is I mean, this whole thing's a highlight of my week. Every single time we're here.
I was hoping for a compliment there. I was worried that I was going to get, like, sandbagged on air or something. Then just like, your company's all right, but
Don't even. You knew something was coming.
Still looking for an upgrade for a co-host.
No, it's a highlight of my week. Guys who stuck around after the end of the live podcast, appreciate you guys. Always a good chat afterwards.
Jamie, if we beat the Vikings, I will get some fairy lights as part of the garb. I'm putting my Christmas tree up today anyhow. Well, tomorrow.
Don't get electrocuted on air. Don't put anything electric by your face. Jesus Christ.
I'll get some fairy lights going up off here if we win against the Vikings.
No. Right, okay, guys, we'll see you for the college
Au
show
revoir.
on Wednesday, and maybe the Vikings preview show as well. I'm going to say it again. Let's go, Lions, want pride!
Fuck the Packers!